Welcome to Late Night at the Movies, episode 24, The Prestige. Ominous music from the start of the film, apparently. This one says, "Are you watching closely?" as the first line of the film essentially is, right? As he says at the end, as it all goes full circle, Jay. And we'll get into it, Jay.
Yeah, I think I finally figured it out.
Jay just told me he watched the film like 4 times before we just started, guys. So this should be an interesting one.
It was literally just on the last words.
Hey man, I gave you the heads up. I told you this is a
Yeah, but I didn't think I would need to watch it 4 times, bro.
I said at least watch it twice because the
Yeah.
first time you're not going to realize what's going on a lot of it, and then you kind of got to go back. But anyways, guys, of course, yes, we are here back again today to talk about this movie that was my pick for us to watch this time. This is the Christopher Nolan directed film that he wrote the screenplay for with his brother as well. I think it's Jonathan Nolan, yeah, and based off the Christopher Priest novel, The Prestige, which is essentially, let's just go off the IMDb description to make it easy. After a tragic accident, 2 stage magicians in 1890s London engage in a battle to create the ultimate illusion while sacrificing everything they have to outwit each other. And essentially, yeah, that's what it basically is. It takes place during that time period. It's a movie about 2 dueling magicians. Something happens to one of them that's a tragic, accident, let's say. And for the sake of argument, anyways, right? As far as we know, it was an accident that sparked this little fucking, this thing between these 2 guys. And as a result, they kind of just went back and forth at each other, trying to one up one another for pretty much the rest of their lives and or careers in this film. So it's very interesting. There's a lot to take in. I don't think I've ever actually written down as many quotes and or scenes down for a film. I don't really have too much to say on some of the other topics. So as always, those are usually the categories that take up the most time talking. But I think that there's going to be a lot to cover in this one for quotes and scenes, because I'm actually surprised. I mean, even for me loving this film, how much I actually wrote down for this one. So we'll get into it shortly here, guys. But as always, as we say at the start of all our YouTube videos, if this is your first time seeing this show, this is Late Night at the Movies. We do deep dives on films that one of us has seen before at the very least, and kind of get into it, do in-depth discussion through categories about the film. Sometimes we have guests on. If you're new to the channel, check out our other content, our playlists, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified when these things come out. And tell your friends. And I'm Nico, and of course, my co-host JT, as always. What's going on, man?
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around all this, bro. This was a great movie. Don't get me wrong. I had a fun time watching it 4 times. Okay, I'm not even joking. I actually did. But like I said to you, I had a hard time for the first. I had a shitty copy. So guys, it's not always the best. It's not always the greatest to stream stuff, because you're not always going to get the best quality, and you do have to honestly purchase it once in a while, right? Especially a movie with that English accent and stuff like that. And that's a little even harder.
Yeah, I'm happy to own this one just because I am Christopher Nolan fan, so I already have a lot of his films. Oh, there you go, special appearance by Christine. There you go. So I already kind of own this one, so I kind of just popped it in, right, the Blu-ray. But yeah, so let's get into kind of what we normally mention at the start of these shows, which is what is our history with this film prior to. Now, Jay, you said you've never seen this before now, and now you've seen it 4 times. So
well, you know what? I might have seen it one time and just gave up. I don't know. That could have been something that just lost my focus because I lost my attention. You know what I mean, in that sense. But that would have probably been when I was a little younger. I mean, it's got to be about 20 years old now, right?
It's funny. Yeah, this came out in 2006, so it's not yet, but yeah, about 16 years old, right? So
close too, yeah.
It came out, I think, as we previously mentioned, in between Christopher Nolan's first Batman film, Batman Begins, and The Dark Knight Returns. And I was having this conversation with Christine the other day, and I'm a big Christopher Nolan fan. I know not everybody is. I guess his films are pretty decisive about like whether or not you love them or you hate them, right? Like he's pretty much like you gotta. With most of his stuff, I find that you either get him or like his stuff or you don't for the most part, right? But this one is adapted from an actual book. So, I mean, like they co-wrote the screenplay and he directed it. But I felt like I was talking with Christine about it the other day. I'm like, why does this film get buried? I feel like by all of his other stuff. But yeah, I think it is because it came out in between his Batman films, right? I think it's because not only did and then I think once Batman hit to a specific audience, other people obviously got into his work as a result. And then I think everything he's done since Batman has been like, oh, the great Christopher Nolan director, right? Like not that he didn't do good films before that or after, but like it's just interesting because then Inception came out after I think the second Batman film, between that and the third. So it's like it seems like the Batman films just really funded his career and really helped him moving forward with I think things that he wanted to do, like his.
But that Inception is pretty intriguing too when it comes to a movie that you have to focus and pay attention to and stuff like that. So he's that type of guy too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But there's been examples of that with his filmmaking before this, though. That's what I mean. Like there's earlier films that he did, Memento being probably the best known one that he did very early on in his career, which is the whole movie's like that. It's like a mind fuck, and then everything kind of it comes back around at the end of the film, right? Like, so I don't think that's what I mean. Like, I was surprised to find out that this wasn't his idea for a film just because it was so well done, and the fact that it was adapted from a novel. It seems like something that would be right up his alley. So I'm not surprised that these guys adapted the screenplay and made the film like from the novel of this, because wrote the screenplay together, him and his brother. So like it makes perfect sense to me why they did this film. Just I think there is an aspect of like there's always like an aspect of time or some sort of science in a lot of his films. You know what I mean? So like there is. As we get into it, you guys will find out if you've never seen this film. There is a part of that has to do with this movie as well, right? So, even though it doesn't seem like it on the surface, right? So it's pretty interesting. So I don't know. I just find it weird that I even have a collection. Now this is old. Now he's come out with a few films since then that aren't in the box set. But I bought a Christopher Nolan box set when I was really getting films. And it has everything I think up to maybe the last Batman movie that he's done, except for this movie. And I don't know if it's because he didn't write it or I don't know why. And I had to buy this one separately. So I really don't know. It must have gotten buried, I think, by all the Batman stuff and everything else at this time period. I just find that everybody that talks about his movies, even the stuff they love or hate about them, whether or not you're a fan, they tend not to talk about this one a lot. So I feel I'm glad that I chose this one, because even upon this rewatch, I absolutely loved watching this again. Like I think it's perfect, honestly. Like I think it's like from beginning to end.
It was well done, bro.
What a cast too! Look at this cast. Like he already worked with Christian Bale for Batman, then he works with him at this in between Batmans. I don't know if he filmed this before or something like that. Then you got Michael Caine, who again was in his Batman films. Hugh Jackman, which I haven't seen him work with again. Scarlett Johansson. Like there's some big names in here. I mean, Scarlett Johansson wasn't even that big at this time, I would say, in comparison. But like, this is a great cast in this film, and that's just to name a few, right? There's some other great people too, which aren't maybe as big of names now, but like even that, for the two main guys being Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, it's pretty big deal. So
even fucking David Bowie, even David Bowie makes a fucking premiere.
Of course. He's fucking Nikola Tesla in this film. It's crazy, right? What's his name? Andy Serkis. There's lots of great people in this film. Anyways, we're gonna get into it now, guys. But my history with it though is I watched I watched Batman, and then I started getting into his movies, and then I watched, I think, Memento, which everybody was talking about at that time. Oh, have you seen this one by him? And then I think I came across this and his other films when I actually kind of took the time, and probably when I got that box set. This is probably even after Dark Knight Returns, maybe. I'd like to say it was in between those first two Batmans, but I don't even think it was. I think I probably had saw this and maybe some other things. Maybe before his last Batman movie, I probably had seen this and a bunch of his other films, because I didn't see this when it originally came out. Even been after the trilogy, to be honest with you, because I don't think I saw this till after I picked up the box set, and this wasn't even in the box set. I had to actually go out and get this one. So yeah, just a really great movie. But yeah, I watched it then. I bought the Blu-ray. And then and it's weird because another movie I remember came out around the same time, which I always confused for this film, and I never seeked it out or watched it as a result of that. Do you know what movie that was?
No.
There's an Edward Norton movie where he's a magician called The Illusionist. Now, it literally, I think, came out the same year that this came out. I'm going to double check right now, but I believe even when I was just on IMDb, it was one of those things where like, oh, if you saw this movie, you should check out, you know what I mean? Like, it came up in like the selections, and I'm like, and I don't really like Edward Norton that much. Like, he's good in some films. He's been in some great films. I mean, we talked about Fight Club on here, of course. I'm just not a huge Edward Norton fan. Like, I wouldn't see him in a film just because he's in it, let's say, right? I have to hear the movie's really good, and then I'll go check it out. But like, he's in this movie that's also about like a magician, and I remember it came out roughly around the same time, I feel like, and I never watched. 2006, and I don't know if because of that, like, I just avoided it when it came out, because I'm like, oh, it's that fucking magician movie, I don't want to watch that, because I thought it was. And then it came out literally the same year, so I think it was like, even when I think you saw the commercials for them, they were very close to one another in release. So it's weird how it came up when I was looking at this on IMDb. I was like, oh yeah, that's that fucking Edward Norton magician movie I never wanted to watch. I still haven't watched it. I just have no interest.
It's still one of those, the ones that just sit there, and it's just like, because there is a lot of movies like that where you like the actor so much, but then I mean, we could probably name a bunch of actors that you like that you probably haven't seen every one. There's always got to be that one that you haven't seen.
Yeah, so I've never seen that one, but I have no interest to. But I recall that came out around the same time, and I think that's
similar. I think, because I remember watching a little piece of it too, and just not wanting to watch it again.
Yeah, right.
It was weird. Like, it was like this one.
Movie about a magician doesn't mean I want to watch it, but the idea behind this film with them, though, is really what I think. Right, so.
Well, they pulled me in at the right part, I guess, at the right timing, just before I wanted to switch it over or push pause, or I said I'll save it for the next take, and then it caught me. I was able to hold off my attention span for that long, and then the next sequence for myself catches me, right?
Yeah. So let's get into it. Our categories here. All right, favorite scenes. So I don't know where to start here, man. I got a lot.
You probably got. I got a lot too, but they're all mixed up everywhere. And sometimes it's funny because me with my, my notes. So, like, it took me 6 pages just for scenes. Like, I write out the whole paragraph instead of just a pinpoint.
Yeah. So this film's interesting too, because like they're telling different portions of the story at different points in time. Like, so like the movie starts, they're already kind of telling you when Hugh Jackman's character, what's his name, Mr. Angier, or the great Danton, or whatever his name is, the magician.
Danton.
So Danton or whatever. Yeah, he they're already showing you kind of at the start. The movie opens up and they have the Christian Bale, his line of are you watching closely, and you hear that, and you see all the top hats kind of like scattered across the ground. So at this point, as a viewer, they're already kind of trying to test you and see if you're kind of catching what you're watching, but you're not really realizing what you're looking at, because you don't know, obviously, the first 5 seconds of the film, what you're like experiencing, or why the significance of what you're watching at that point, right? And it's not even like a huge thing, but it kind of comes back around at the end, like I think a little bit, because he says that line towards the end of the film, and then he also and then the hat thing. It is a moment that happens later on in the movie. It's just a really cool way of opening up the film, right? And then they kind of go into showing Hugh Jackman's character, Mr. Angier, already meeting with Nikola Tesla. Like he's kind of already venturing out to find him and speak to him, right? And at that point, again, you don't really have the point of reference for what's going on. So like they're telling you the story from two different perspectives from the start. Is one is Mr. Angier, the great Danton, played by Hugh Jackman, who's a magician, who's going to seek out Nikola Tesla, and he has his journal. He has the other magician's journal, Christian Bale, the professor. He has his journal, and he's brought it along with him on his travels because he thinks he's going to tell him his secrets, his magician secrets, right? As anybody who knows anything about magicians, they're not allowed to reveal their secrets. And especially back then, I guess at this period in time, because they didn't have much technology to help them with their illusions. If you were able to figure out another magician's secret, you could make a living off of this trick, right?
Yeah.
You could make a living off of like performing this trick. And these two kind of start kind of going back and forth at one another, trying to emulate kind of the other's trick and make it better and improve upon it, and they drive themselves crazy trying to figure out and one up one another, like each other's tricks, right? So like, and you're not allowed to tell people, like, you don't do that, right? So he steals his journal trying to learn everything, and then the perspective, I think that what they're telling the story from is Christian Bale's character is in jail. So he's in jail at this point in time at the start, and they kind of tell the story from the start, but they kind of do start showing, like with the film, like letting you know where they're at currently, which leads into the end of the film later on, right? Like that, you kind of pick up where they start off about halfway through the film, I would say, like again, right? Like after they kind of explain how they got to that point, then they kind of double back, and then you're all caught up to date, right? So.
Even kind of like the beginning starts with the end sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's already like, I think this is one of those movies that rewards you with multiple views. And that's kind of, again, Christopher Nolan's films, a lot of them do that. And this one especially. This one's just so tight. Like everything's so tight, honestly. Like this, like everything kind of comes full circle. Nothing's confusing, I feel, once you finally get there. Me personally, no, I don't know. That's what I mean. I've seen it a few times now, Jane. Like even upon this viewing, I watched questions though, or like thoughts about it that maybe I didn't have before, right? But I've also never had a discussion like this where I had to break it down, right? So it's interesting when we do this with that. So, anyways, yeah, one of my favorite scenes is the start. Yeah, they meet with Nikola Tesla. I talked about that, but it's really got to be what sets it all off. Is they're both working for they're working as basically stage hands, like apprentice magicians for another magician who works for Michael Caine's character. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the girls that they use, the magician's assistant, like the women that they use in the tricks, Hugh Jackman's character is dating one of them, or I don't think it was his wife.
I think it was his wife at that time.
Was it his wife? Okay, sorry, it's his wife. Okay, yeah, I had to be, I guess, for how yeah. So it was his wife, and they use them. Him and Christian Bale are being used as plants in the audience. So like guys that they would pick out that are in on the trick, essentially. So they brought them up on the stage, and Christian Bale doesn't like the knot that they put these assistants in. This is the trick, of course. They dunk them in a tank of water and lock the top, and they have a minute or whatever to get out. And there's a way that they get out of the knot, and they use a lever on the top of the tank to open it and push the lock up, like a lever or something like that. And that way,
lock,
yeah. So then by the time that they lift the sheet off of this tank of water, they're not even in there. Like they're wet and they're kind of standing off to the side or whatever. And then they come out, ta-da, right? So, so Michael Caine, he sits at the side with a stopwatch and an axe, because if the trick goes wrong and the woman can't get out, he has to smash this fucking this glass. But it's not easy to smash this glass because it's like very thick, right? So he has to really kind of go at it with the axe in order to break it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was looking at that part specifically. I was like, just give it to Batman. He'll do it. No. Like, I wanted to get the oldest guy fucking trying to break the glass. Sorry.
Yeah. So prior to this, they show them backstage, like with their day-to-day kind of stuff, and Christian Bale's new to the operation. And he walks
just like a lead hand, right? That gives fucking stuff to
people. So he kind of saying some shit. I don't really like this knot. This is the knot you should do. Blah blah blah. He's arguing with Michael Caine. Michael Caine's like, no, this is the knot. You know, don't do that other knot. Believe me, that's not as good, or whatever else. And he's so convinced, right? This guy, like, he thinks he's gonna be the next best thing, new hot shit type stuff, right? So he's like. So he walks off, and Hugh Jackman's like, hey, who is this guy? And he's just like, oh, who are you? He's like, what do you mean who's this guy? Like, you know, he's just like, who are you at that point? He's like, hey, he got me some secrets about some other guy. He basically snitched out some other guy's tricks then. And he's like, I'm going to work, you know, he's working for us now. Okay. And he's like, okay, well, I don't really, you could tell Hugh Jackman doesn't really like the guy, the cut of the guy's jib. Like, he doesn't like, you know, who this guy is, kind of. He's just like, I don't know if he trusts him. So anyways, his wife, who's the magician's assistant, he goes to tie the fucking knot that they tell him to tie. And if you watch, he doesn't tie that tie. He has a second thought, and then he changes up his approach. Yeah, he stops himself, and he's like, you know what? No, I'm going to do this other knot. Fuck him, right? Pretty much, right? He does this other knot, goes in. Yeah, she ends up dying. She can't get out of the knot. Michael Caine, the minute goes by or whatever, Michael Caine comes out with the axe, smashes it open. It's a little too late. She comes out. Dead already, and then fucking it just goes off from there. Now Hugh Jackman is like basically vowed like to get back at this guy, like he wants revenge, and he comes to his wife's funeral, and he asks him, he's like, what knot did you tie? And he's like, I honestly can't remember, I've been thinking about it, blah blah blah, I can't. And he's like troubled by the fact that he can't remember apparently which knot he did, right? And if you go back and watch that scene, as Jay, I'm sure, watched it 4 times, he did the other knot.
Okay.
He didn't do the knot he was supposed to. He did the other knot, but he says he doesn't remember, which, okay, I get it, because he stopped himself and he had like a moment of like, okay, no, I'm going to go with the other one. Like, he changed his mind like mid sequence of him doing it, right? So like, so anyways, yeah, he accidentally kills his wife as a result of this. And then it kind of just goes from there. And then Hugh Jackman continues to try to like get back at him, ruin his show, ruin his career, and then you know, steal his magic tricks. You know what I mean? Like, and the rest of the film's kind of driven by greed and revenge as a result of them wanting to do this. And we'll get into the specifics of that whole thing. But that scene, though, that opening scene with that, it just sets the bar, I think, for the entire film. And that's why I had to put it as one of my favorite scenes. Of course, I mean, like, that's a very. And not even just that scene, the scene with the funeral where he confronts him and he fucking has to leave. Like, Christian Bale walks out, like, because he's yelling at him. He's like, I have it in my quotes here, but he's like, he basically like, he's like, you don't know? He's like, you don't know? That's like even worse. Like, he could have just lied and said, yeah, I fucked up. I did the wrong knot. Like, the fact that he doesn't know drives him fucking.
Yeah, but you know why now he doesn't know? There's a lot of reasons to why now. There's a lot of reasons to why. Now I'm a little disappointed. Like, you know, those are exciting scenes to me now. Now that I know the fucking
trick. You have to rethink the whole film. Yes, I know.
But now that I know the trick, it's fucking hard to even say what scene I like the best.
I know.
Only because, favorite scenes, because, you know, everything. It's like they lied to me my whole fucking life.
Well, listen, guys, you don't watch if you don't want to get spoiled. So we'll just tell you right off the bat right now. We'll jump ahead. So
we have to, because it's really fucking.
If you want to watch this film for yourself, guys, and you don't want to be spoiled by this, then come back and rewatch this, because I'm going to say it right now, or just because we're going to have to talk about this part.
This is hard to bounce around.
Yeah, you have to. That's what I mean. Even to kind of approach this film and talk about it, you can't kind of just tell it straight. Like, you have to bounce around to be able to tell it properly, right? You have to. Christian Bale, you find out at the end of the film, had a twin brother. a twin. So that they essentially switched each other and played each other in all aspects of their life. And they committed to this for God knows how long. We don't even know. They don't even get into it. Like we literally don't know. Like, and I think you've heard of this type of shit happening with twins trying to trick each other. I have heard of shit like that in real life where twins try to trick
each other's girlfriends and shit.
Yeah, but this is like a whole other fucking level of deception. It really is, like in all aspects of their life. So he acts as his handler or bodyguard of sort or something. This guy called Fallon, and he wears a beard and a top hat and glasses, but he looks exactly like fucking Christian Bale. But so throughout the film, you're seeing this guy, and whenever they get to the scene where you kind of show him, he kind of has to leave suddenly, or like, you know what I mean? Like, I remember the first time I watched this movie, it blew my fucking mind. I'm like, are you kidding me? And it's one of those things that Michael Caine literally tells him from the get-go, Jay. He says he's got a double. He's like, there's no other way you can trick. He's got a double. Yeah. And then Scarlett Johansson, she's like, he's got a double. I seen the beard. I see it's like but he doesn't want to accept it. That's the craziness of Hugh Jackman's
sickness, bro.
Yeah, exactly. The greed and the obsession of this character in this film. He ruins everything as a result of it. Like it's insane. Like
that was the pledge. He says it, Christopher. What's his name?
At the end, there's a quote.
No, yeah, I mean, in the beginning, right at the beginning, when he's saying the pledge, there's
the
three
prestige.
tricks. The pledge, and then the turning point, and then
you have to admit, there's all these quotes. There's so many good fucking quotes.
I mean,
but again, Jay's right. They tell you all this from the beginning.
Take the ordinary, take something ordinary.
They're laying the groundwork for you, and at the start of the film. That's another great scene is like the intro. You hear Michael Caine doing the monologue at the start of him kind of telling you how a trick works. Like there's 3 parts to a trick. Like he tells you like, and it's all about, you want to like be fooled. You're already in on, and I think that's like, it really speaks to, I think Hugh Jackman's character. He didn't want to accept that was how easy that trick was. You know what I mean? Like, not that it's easy, but like, man, the fucking things these guys had to do to switch each other in all aspects of their life, like throughout that, like at the end, it is in the last 2 minutes of the film are insane. Like the shit that they drop on, because even at that point, you figured it out. They've revealed that he's got this twin. But you don't know to the extent.
I text you halfway, two episodes, 2 times watching it already. Yeah. I text you going, "What's going on here? Where am I lost?"
Even when you're like, "Okay, the movie's over," they're like, "No. We're gonna drop, like, your whole mind's gonna be like," because already at that point you're like, "Oh my god, that's crazy!" Like, because they reveal that this guy exists before the end of the film, but then the last 2 minutes of the film when he goes and speaks to him. Right when he's dying there, or he comes and shoots them. When he goes and speaks to him, he reveals everything. Like, it's crazy. It's going on, Goat. And ladies and the Deekster, yeah. What's going on? Just talking about this movie. Yeah, no, it's insane, man. It's a total fucking mind.
It is, and you know what? You made me okay. I went into it and I watched it the first 2 times sober.
Yeah,
I think I really got it when I was stoned. I think I figured it out more when I was stoned. I honestly did. Well, I mean, that's also 2 times into the movie, but and literally, okay. I mean, something that leads up. That's where I was trying to go with that whole thing is because with the whole pledge, right after the first that favorite scene that you had there, one of your favorite scenes there, right after that, what's his name says? Michael Caine says, Cutter says, he does say that these guys should go to and see how one of these
that's what we're just saying,
the old Chinese guys.
Oh yes, I know what
the old Chinese guys, right? Yes. And try to figure out how the ball works, and the
fishbowl, how the
fishbowl thing works. And Michael Keaton basically Christian Bale. Why don't I go Michael Keaton? I'm thinking Batman in my head, bro. Christian Bale says to these guys, in that scene, but they're there together. They wanted to go. He says, "Go figure out, what how he does his trick and come back to me."
Yeah.
Right, and let me know, because these guys were competing. These guys, from what I got from it, they were friends in those scenes. Like they just were magicians. They were kind of friends still.
Yeah, they were associates. Like they were working together with Michael Caine. Like,
yeah,
and they're all trying to learn. They're all on the come up. You know what I mean? They're all like apprentice magicians at that time, and they're all like trying to learn the tricks of the trade. Like they're all on the same. They like obviously Bale had aspirations and he had they wanted to be bigger, but they didn't have their own acts yet. Like they didn't have their own, they're still trying to learn and piece together small like tricks and stuff like that for their acts, right? And Michael Caine, they're working for him. Yeah, no. So Michael Caine tells them, you want to see good magic, go see this guy. If you can explain to me how he does this fishbowl trick, how he lifts because he hides a fishbowl in between his legs, essentially, he makes it disappear. But he's an old ass fucking man. Right, or as you were gonna get into.
I mean, like you don't know. Christian Bale says the thing there. He says it's if he has to do this is something hard to do. You have to live your whole life like that, and like he's almost basically, I'm wondering there if he's actually playing that fucking trick, because there's some scenes that bounce back and forth, and it trips me out and there's only certain things that catch my eye though.
Yeah, it's one of those things, Jay. Though once you know the reveal, if you go back to rewatch the film, you watch every scene differently. You watch everything.
I'm gonna try and watch it again.
You question everything. Like you're like
my mind's blown away, right? Like that, I figured it out.
Yeah, there's hints. Like there's hints throughout the film, which we'll get into. Like that they're trying to like let you know. That they also do little flashbacks to at the end in that scene where they do reveal everything that they want to let you know, like who you were watching in that certain part. But there's things that we don't know how long he was like you said in that scene. That's what's really great about it, is that he says that he's like the self-sacrifice that this man, he's convinced this Chinese man acts like a cripple, like in real life. Like he's walking outside of the show and he's hobbling to his car to pick him up, and he's like, yeah, he's not crippled, he's just pretending to be this. And then my Hugh Jackman like looks at him, he's like, what? He's like, why would you do that for your whole life? He's like, oh yeah, no, this is brilliant, the self-sacrifice of this guy. He's like, yeah, this is the trick. Like this is what he has to do to accomplish deceive everyone. Like you have to just be like, and like you want to think that maybe that's when he came up with the idea, but I don't know. I really don't. You really don't know. I think that you really don't know how long they because it just, and you don't see the other guy until after this scene. So maybe it's possible that's when he went off, like after this whole death thing with his wife, and he finally kind of crafted everything. Because it's true, there is some time lapse, I think, between periods that they don't really kind of get into, but you could tell because when he goes off, he starts his own show, and you know what I mean? They both kind of go off and they start their own shows after that eventually, right? So like maybe he went and started thinking about doing it then, but it just seems like he said, like, I have a trick, he says to them, the Michael Caine, that's gonna revolution, like he's like, this is gonna be the best trick ever if I can get it together. Like it's almost as if he had this in the works like his entire life or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's insane.
It's fucking crazy though.
Yeah, it absolutely is. That's literally, before you jumped on here in the comments at the start of this, that's what I said. I said I'm glad we talked about it, because I feel this gets underrated, like not looked at enough. I don't think a lot of people even know about it. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, it's very interesting though. The more you think about it, it's a great film.
Blows my mind, bro.
It's
still blowing. Like I'm trying to talk about it now that all this shit that I wrote down already, like I'm looking at it and I'm going, really? I couldn't figure this out. I wrote it down on a piece of paper and I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Like because I don't know if I was, obviously I was focusing a couple times on writing things down and quotes and scenes and stuff like that, because, it was a great, like, I mean, it was so much to take in, so much to watch. It was blowing my mind, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then when I got to the end, I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck am I doing? And then I got to go back. I went back an hour, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll go back an hour and a half and see what happens, right? Like, it wasn't the problem too is it's not a fucking short movie. So for you to kind of go back and try to rewatch it, like, trust me, it took fucking 8 hours out of my life. it's the 10 hours out of my life this week.
It's just over 2 hours, actually. That's pretty good by today's standards. It's not 3 hours. It's like 2 hours and 10 minutes, it says here. So that's pretty good. I mean,
that was good.
But that's what I mean. It's such a tight told story, man. I'm very surprised at how, like,
they're both great actors.
Yeah. And anyways, so then I just thought, like, for my next scene here, I put basically, I mean, I put down all the scenes really where they kind of one up each other, essentially. Like, I put the first one I put here was the first one when after in retaliation to that, Christian Bale now is he's gone off and he started his own show as the professor, and then he shows up to his show, and they mentioned this trick before, the bullet catch trick before, and they said that's a shitty trick. Michael Caine tried to warn him because he's like, somebody can just throw a marble in your gun or something like that, and you're gonna end up getting shot or something like that. Like, it's a trick, I guess, that they stuff something in the gun, and then as a result they're able to remove the bullet when they go to stuff it down, like actually load the bullet up into the revolver, or like,
so it rolls out and it doesn't get stuck in.
Yeah. So then he acts like a guy from the crowd, and he's wearing like, which I don't know.
They trip me out. I don't know how you get away with that. Yeah.
He's wearing like a beard, or actually, I think at this point he grew a beard or something. Anyways, he looks just different because yours, I guess, has supposedly passed from the time that he killed his wife, right? So he approaches him out of the crowd when he opens up his show, and he does this new bullet catch trick, and he's knowing that how the trick works, of course. Hugh Jackman, Mr. Angier, he puts something inside of his gun, and ends up the participant has to shoot it at him, and as a result, the bullet doesn't get, like, he actually ends up shooting his finger off. Like, he shoots him in the hand, his fingers get shot off. So now it's actually going to affect his.
Now that fucks you up, but that fucks you up even more now.
That's going to fuck your sleight of hand up. That's what I mean. Like, he has a wife now, Christian Bale. He's met a woman, and he then, like, this is going to fuck up his sleight of hand. Like, it's going to mess up some of his act as a result, right? So there you go, strike one, right? And it kind of really strike one for both of them, right? Eye for an eye at this point, right? Because of the wife, so he goes and fucks up. So it kind of starts going back and forth like that. Then Hugh Jackman starts his own show, and he has a trick, like a new twist on an old trick, where they make the bird look like they disappear it out of a box. But in retrospect, like, really what they do is they squish the bird. They kill the bird essentially to do this trick. Like, it gets squashed in like this crate, right? It folds up. And then they just produce a new bird, right? So he's like, I don't want to kill no birds. So Michael Caine's like, okay, well, he comes up with some like mechanism where like the cage like kind of goes back into his sleeves or something. It's like some thing on his back that he
well, that's a real thing too. They did that. They used that.
Yeah.
In real life. That's a fucked up. I didn't realize until I actually went back and Googled to Google it to see if they had it set up. No, and it does, bro. And there was something.
No, these are based on real tricks. Yeah, this is like,
sleight of hand is totally different now, the way they do it, but like that, right? I mean, first of all, you would be killing any fucking birds, right? Yeah. That other trick where the old guy does it, where he's just and that fucking kid cries. That was another thing. That was poor kid,
Yeah.
But that kid was smart, man.
He was. He's like his brother.
His brother, yeah. But there's another fucking hint. See, I didn't even know that. Because Christian Bale goes to talk to him after and show him a magic trick.
So the deception starts right from the start. As I just mentioned, Christian Bale has a woman or a wife, that he gets with. Like, I guess she becomes married to him, and she has a son already, and he starts living with her, and they're together. But the magician, Christian Bale's character, the magician, the professor guy, Alfred, is it Alfred? Alfred? Yeah.
Alfred Borden.
He is not actually the one who's in love with this woman. The man who met her is actually the guy who's disguised in the Fallon kind of disguise. So right from the start, like, there's even a scene where he's first trying to court her, like trying to like impress her, and he walks away from her. Bro, he's in her apartment like in her apartment. Like
I couldn't figure that out. That was gonna be another one of my unanswerable questions.
And she's like charmed by it because it's because it's two of them at that point.
I know. I didn't realize that.
Right. She's charmed by it because he's like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Like he's like, oh, this was a great date. I'll see you. Have a good night. And he walks away from her door. And she goes in the apartment door and she closes the door behind her, of course. And he turns around and he's like, oh, yeah, would you like me? Like, he's like, you need me to cook something? He's in her apartment. And she's like, oh, you're a magician. Like, oh, what a great trick. I'm like, no, this fucking guy was clearly in your actual apartment. And the other guy was acting like himself outside the apartment. And then like, it had to be. There's no way he could have got in there. Right. That's what I mean. They're already tricking people right from that part. Like, when he met that. Right, like so, like,
but and it's the harder part about it is because it's a movie. You said, fuck, it's a movie. They're making shit up too, right? It's hard to believe it too, even more.
Right. So you excuse it as a viewer. You're already excusing what you're watching, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. They're magicians, right? Okay, no, it's because already they planted the seed that this is two different fucking people that you're watching that turn out to be twins. Yeah, but the thing that's messed up is that it's not Christian Bale, the magician, who's the man who's in love with her, but he has to act like he is half the time. Like there's a lot of times where he has to act like he loves this woman that they're together, even though he's not. And Scarlett Johansson's character later in the movie, she falls in love with the actual magician, Alpha. So they literally have to both love two different women half the times of their lives and act like two other people half the other part of their lives, right? And that's the thing. He makes that point later on in that last, everything comes full circle in that last speech. He says that he's like, for us, it worked. Like we were okay with sharing our time with these people for half of it. Like for them, it didn't, right? Like it ruined all of their lives as a result because they felt they could pull this off and it would be acceptable, but it's not, because half the fucking time you don't even know who you're speaking to. Like how, you know what I mean? How crazy would that be, learning that, right? That deception, like that'd be insane. Is she sleeping with him? Like, you know what I mean? Like we don't even know. Like we don't know. She has a kid. Crazy. She has a kid with him, right? Right.
Who knows, right?
Right.
And they are brothers, so they still got the same fucking whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? So
well, no, she did have a kid already, actually. No, she already had a kid though, actually. I think that was already her son, though, right? Before I think she met him. Because that's how he met her, was because that kid was very clever or whatever, right? Or was that their kid? No, I think that was his. Was that like her nephew or something in that scene? Like, I don't think that was. Yeah, I think
she said nephew. She said nephew.
Right, the other kid is smaller. So you think it's not Alfred Fallon guy, right? You think that's who has the kid with her. Maybe it was. We don't know, right? I mean, there's no way of telling.
Yeah, we don't even know. I don't even know if the wife knows that he has a fucking brother. That's the fucking trippy part.
Well, we'll get into that. But anyways, yeah. So those are when they start going back and forth with each other. That's really good, right? I'm only like halfway through my scenes, not even. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What else?
You named a few of mine. But
yeah.
No, there was one scene that I thought was good, and this is where I thought I might. No, I gotta leave that for an unanswerable. Fuck it, I'm not gonna say it because that was. See what I mean? Now they were my unanswerable questions. Now I kind of think that they might not be unanswerable because now that I've kind of figured it out, it's fucking with me, right?
Yeah. Well, you can still bring them up. We can discuss them. Yeah.
Well, that's when you say. I think it's the part that you're talking about right there. Is when do you see when he's running away and Jackman is running after him there? Okay, and it's during the daylight. It's going towards the grocery store, and he bumps into his wife. But just the way it happens, there's a carriage that crosses in front.
Yes.
And I'm trying to figure out what happened there. If that's where I lost it. See, that's another scene. That's the one. That's the scene where I'm wondering if that's where I lost it at, like where it got kind of switched. Because remember when the brother would now have to talk, he would be talking a little different to the wife. See, this is what's confusing me now. Those are some great scenes, right? Yeah. He's got this fucking mustache, and he's trying. I just came from the theater now performance. Yeah. Right there, I try and have dinner and shit, right? Or after that. But yeah, man, it's really mind fucking me now, bro. It really is. because now all these scenes that I thought were crazy, they're not so crazy anymore in that sense.
They want you to feel that though. They want you, the viewer, also, and again, it plays on so many levels because as magicians, a movie about magicians, they want you to believe what you're seeing. They want to feed. So like the whole the viewer is almost the participant in the magic trick.
You know I am. I felt like you.
You're the participant in the illusion that they're selling us throughout this whole film, as much as the people in the story are to them, right? Like they deceived all of us, but like that's what I mean. Like, and it's so true what he says about the self-sacrifice. Like again, like I mean, I'm stepping all over all the quotes because there's so many great quotes in this movie. But he says that, he's like, you know, I'm trying not to, but he's like, you know, nothing of sacrifice. Like he says that he's like for what? He's like, you did this for nothing. Like he's like, you don't know what sacrifice is. He's like, you know what I like. He's like, we were okay with this arrangement. This is of our own, like, you know, design. Like they're the ones that wanted this. You know what I mean? Like it's so insane, man. Like
it's sick too, bro. I think in a weird way.
Yeah, I have a great unanswerable question that, like, to that point. Well, yeah, I know. There's so many things I want to talk about. We have to go through the categories. Trust me, it's hard. But
you got my seeds when their fingers were shut off. Like the second time they did the trick and she didn't get on, the wife died, right? And you know how that was crazy to see. But that's in most of those kind of scenes where I wrote. I'm not sure if it's Bale's fault yet. I put it in quotations, like it just not in brackets, just because I was like, fuck, I don't know what's going on here. I know something's wrong, right?
Yeah.
But what am I not seeing?
So like, then I wrote down like when he sees like his new magic trick with the rubber ball, like when he sees Christian Bale first perform the trick with his twin though. He goes in one door, he throws the rubber ball across the stage, goes in one door, closes it, and then he comes out on the other side, like the door that's far on the other side of the stage, and catches the ball. And he sees that, and he that's what really sparks. Like this is already after they both fucked each other up. Like he fucked up that person's hand. He lost his stage time for a week, opening up as the Great Denton. Like he ruins his career. Like at that moment, he ruined his fucking hand and essentially his whole like rollout of his show. Right. So at this point, they're both even in that sense. Right. Then Christian Bale, he goes and meets Tesla. He has all these like the machines that create electricity in the background of his new stage thing. He opens up with this what's it called? I don't know if it's Disappearing Man or what the hell is the name of that?
No, it was
Transported Man or whatever.
Teleportive
and that's his whole shtick with the whole Tesla thing. And then he's driven insane by the fact that he can't figure out this trick, and he wants to copy it, and he wants to do it himself because he feels that. And then him and Michael Caine have this argument. He feels that he's a shitty magician. And Michael Caine's like, no, he's not a shitty magician. He's a shitty showman. He's like, you're a better magician. You could perform this better if we can do it. He's like, but I'm telling you, there's no way you can do that trick without a double. It's like he's using a double. And he just won't accept it, right? Like, so then, that whole introduction, I think that really starts the obsession. That whole scene of him seeing the trick for the first time is really well done, and I think like that really sets the stage, I think, for like his like descent into fucking madness after that. Like, 'cause without that, and then they even copy it. Like they try to, like, there's a great scene, like they get a fucking drunk version that looks exactly like the Great Denton.
That was the best.
Yeah, bro. Talk about that scene then. Go ahead. That's another great scene.
That was, when they find him in the thing, he looks like him, just a little bit of blonde hair and everything like that.
And it's Christian, and it's
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just different scene. Yeah. And he's playing like a drunk Englishman, and he's sitting in the bar, and they get him out, and he goes, just give me, what did he say? Give me a week or a month of them, and I'll have him ready to go. And then he was ready to go.
Yeah.
Right. But they actually made, if they had to do that back then, I highly doubt it would have looked that that on. You know what I mean? Unless you had a twin or something like that. That's why I think this shit kind of worked out better because they had it, you know. But I mean, they did a good job of getting the double. If they could just keep him, you know, in line, but he couldn't start talking. He couldn't whatever. They didn't want him to say nothing because you know then he can fucking give it out, right?
And Bale gets to him, like he gets to him in a bar.
In the bar, yeah. Hey, you look like what do you say? You look like what's his name?
The Great Denton. He's like, yeah, but don't say anything or whatever.
I can't keep the people off me. He's gonna say.
And then meanwhile, Hugh Jackman sends Scarlett Johansson, who's now his new magician's assistant, to spy on Christian Bale and get his secrets and reveal that she's doing this and that she's there to deceive him. But then she reveals to him, you learn later on, that she actually was in love with Hugh Jackman, but he didn't appreciate her and he sent her over to him like an asshole. And then she ended up falling in love with Christian Bale. And yeah, but then she, as a result of her being over there, they work together to make it so that double goes back and fucking starts blackmailing him and saying, yeah, well, I want more money. Yeah, whatever else. And their version of the trick is essentially Hugh Jackman's character, a trap door opens and he falls. And meanwhile, this is all Michael Caine. Like Michael Caine's the one that comes up with all these tricks.
Yeah, all these tricks, yeah.
Right. And he falls on like a sandbag, and the drunk guy goes up like on like a pulley, like he comes up on the other side of the other door. So this is their version of the trick, right? Anyways, Christian Bale gets to him and he ends up working his way in there and fucking with him, and then Buddy falls. He falls. There's no sandbag. Fucks up his leg. Okay, Hugh Jackman fucks up his leg. He falls down the trapdoor. Falls. There's no sandbag. Fucks up his leg. Looks over. Christian Bale standing where the guy should be. He gets pulled up. Yeah. And then all of a sudden he brings out Buddy acting as the Great Denton, the double, from a wire, tied up, hammered with a sign that says, "Go see me over at across the street."
The professor at the Prestige.
Yeah. And he totally fucks him again. Like that was so brilliant how he did that. Like and so Christian Bale comes out of the other door during the trick and he's like, what the hell? Like, what am I doing here? He's like, oh, the Great Denton. And he fucking like comes swings. Like you see like that.
Man.
Oh man, it's so good though, Jay. That scene, I was just like, wow, he really got one up on you. And then after that, he basically retires and goes to seek out Tesla because he feels that there's an answer out there of something that could help him to produce this trick essentially. So he goes and turns to science essentially. Science and
well, you know what? That was actually pretty cool. The whole first meeting there with Tesla when everything's electric and he goes and he fucking and Jackman touches the fence and people don't realize when it says that to touch it because it's electricity, they still touch it, right? I guess because back then it was probably a little bit hard to come by, you know what I mean, for people to have electricity like that flowing and crazy stuff. But there was some crazy scenes that involved Tesla and stuff like that and that whole spiel. And this was before, like, I know Tesla's been around. Nikola Tesla, the scientist, has been around it was around a long time. What's the truth?
Well, they mentioned that in history. Yeah, he is real. Of course, Tesla, the car is named after him. Him and Thomas Edison, of course, great
friends and rivals.
Yeah, who went back and forth to one another. Then he got accused of stealing Edison. There's a whole thing about who stole from who out of Edison and Tesla. Yeah. So, there's actually a great Simpsons episode where they go over all of this. They do.
It's funny in Simpsons, though. Of course.
You remember that episode, though, right? Do you
yeah.
They actually go over everything. They go over about how Edison was better than Tesla. That was their perspective because Homer fell in love with Thomas Edison's inventions, right? But there was a whole time period where like people think, like still to this day, some people actually think Tesla was you know what I mean? Like so the fact that they had Tesla in this movie for this whole portion of science and everything else, like dark magic, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that he's able to incorporate. he finds him, and at this point they've pulled Tesla's funding. Like he doesn't have any funding coming in anymore. Like and this magician comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "Listen, we heard about him from
I'll offer you this money."
Yeah. Go on.
And they build him a fucking machine and all that shit. And this little fucking trick. That's that one. It's basically that one that they're using there. Seems like it's basically. Remember when you were a kid and you go to the science center and you fucking have your hand on the ball with the static electricity, and all of a sudden shares everywhere. I mean, I didn't have that issue, but I mean, there's a lot of friends of mine that could, would have that problem, right? But it basically looks like that machine. It took you a second there. I was like, wait a minute.
I heard you. Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty neat how he went to him, and I'm still trying to figure out, like, when he's leaving the box is just basically the stuff that he's been trying to build for him, right?
Well, the box is what has the machine in it, like the one that so basically Tesla creates a machine for him that duplicates your, like it clones you essentially. Like it's like
right,
transference of oneself, like the energy essentially. Like he's able to transfer them to another place essentially, like in time nearby. But as a result, all it's doing is actually creating a double of you. Okay, so he tasks Tesla with making him this machine, and so in his mind he wants this machine to zip him across the stage so he can basically create this illusion of being in two places at once, or getting to another place very quickly. His desired effect, though, is not actually creating a double of himself, but that is what Tesla creates for him. And that's what, like, because he's like, these things are never perfect. Like, working under pressure, under time constraints, like Tesla is just, throwing shit at the wall essentially to see what sticks, using his theories and, electricity and everything else, right? Right. So he creates this thing for him, right? And now I didn't look into this more, Jay. Maybe that's something he was actually trying to create back then. I don't know, right? Maybe that is a theory, a working theory, and that's why they put it in this film, of some paperwork that he had. Maybe he had drawn out, specs on this thing or something, right? I wouldn't be too surprised if that was the case. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be too surprised if something like that existed, let's say, maybe on paper, in theory, right?
Maybe Elon Musk is Tesla. It's double.
Yeah, I know exactly. So
it's so weird now that I'm thinking about all this stuff. It's opened my mind to a fucking huge wormhole of fucking craziness now that I'm thinking of, right? And I got these notes here, and it's like I read them, and I'm like, you know what? It doesn't even sound right anymore. Let me figure something out. Hold on.
Yeah. Well, because your whole mind is thinking differently now, right? And like this whole time when he's out there, like I said from the start where they set this up, he's reading and decoding this book that he got from him. Little does he know, until he gets to the end, he's just been fucking with him. Like, he purposely gave him the wrong, like a book saying at the end, telling him how Scarlett Johansson fell in love with him and he's been tricked and this was all planned and blah, 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 blah. So as he's out there, he fucking just gets enraged even more. At this point, he's through with Tesla. He's like, you're taking too long to make this thing. This thing isn't working. What the hell, right? And as he's leaving, because Tesla has to up and get out of there, because Edison's men are trying to, they're spying on him, and that's what I mean. They already give you the idea there that he was stealing from Tesla, as has already been discussed in history in the books. We don't really know, but we don't know. They don't know for sure, but they had theories that was what had happened, right? So yeah, there is some truth to kind of what they're speaking about in a sense, right? But so then he leaves this area, and then he leaves a note for, they uproot everything of Tesla's and just move locations. And then he's at the hotel he was staying at. He leaves him a note, and he's like, "Oh yeah, here, I left your thing that you paid for. Enjoy." And it's like Jay said, the big box, and he takes it back to London with him, and it's the machine. And then he finds cocaine, and he's like, "This is my last run. Like, this is I need your help one more time. I know you said you don't want to be in this anymore because this revenge is a old man, like a young man's game or whatever the hell he says. And he's like, but listen, you hooked me up with this venue. This is my going away tour, essentially. Like, this is my last show. And then this is it. Like, and he's like, okay. So he helps him. Michael Caine set up this thing,
which old ass fucking was it an old ass theater? Like they had to reestablish it again or whatever. Yeah.
And this leads to Bale himself being intrigued and coming across what he's doing with this machine. And he basically tricks him into falling for to make it look like he framed him for murder, essentially. And that's one of the best scenes too. How he wanders down to the underneath the stage and
gets down there, sneaky Batman.
The trapdoor thing falls.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman's character falls on the tank underneath the stage. It locks. Christian Bale sees this. He freaks the fuck out because he doesn't know what the hell's going on. And as a viewer, you're kind of still trying to figure it out as well. But we know that this thing makes doubles of himself, and you find out that the person who falls in the tank is technically him, and the double is the one that's able to sneak away. Okay, but his memories, it seems like there's a transference of like he's himself still, but in another body. It's weird. And
I always thought it was the double that fell through, which was weird.
He says at the end, Jay, you don't know how it feels not knowing which side of this you're going to end up on. So it's true. We don't know for sure which one it ends up being. We don't. But I think from the viewing perspective, I think the guy who falls into the tank is the guy that was on stage. And technically the other person, it zips up to like the top of the venue and he's supposed to come out of nowhere and be like, hey, here I am. And it's supposed to be some amazing trick because the electricity hits the stage, he disappears, and then he shows up in the crowd. Now we've seen this trick nowadays. Like this is something that they do now, right?
Yeah.
But back then, this is the only way I guess he could figure it out, was using this science or whatever. And anyways, Christian Bale takes the axe, he starts smashing the thing, thinking he's drowning because the fucking thing is stud and he's drowning in front of his eyes, and they catch him doing this, and little do we know he set all this in motion just to frame him to look to be a killer, and then he ends up going to jail. And then again, it kind of goes full circle, like from where we saw him at the start of the film in jail. This is why he's there, trying to sell off his secrets, his magician secrets, to an unknown buyer on the outside, in order, I guess, to help his family, like his brother, his twin, and his kid on the outside. He's trying to help support them. And there's some guy named like Lord Byron or something like that that you find out that he's pretending to be Hugh Jackman, right? I know I'm just explaining the whole movie, Jay, but like it's
all good.
You have to get it out of the way to kind of talk about everything else, unfortunately.
It's so good, but that's where it throws you off, because you're seeing that guy throughout the whole movie too, going to the jail, right? Like that's where I keep saying the middle and the end. The middle is the end, and the end is the beginning. It's so weird how I think it starts off. The middle starts in the beginning. Sorry.
Yeah.
But the beginning of the proper movie where you're supposed to see it is the end. Really, it's so fucking weird. And I always thought it was the one that fell through that trap. Like I seen the trap door close. Like my eye was quick enough to see the camera lets you see that at the end.
Yeah.
Right. Fall into that water thing. But it's just a trip because you see that at the beginning too, sort of thing, and it throws you off before he goes to jail. But when he's in the jail there, and you have that guy that's Hugh Jackman essentially working for him, but then he throws him the ball at the end. He says, "Take care of them and take because he actually gets away with the fucking guy's daughter. He's going to take care of the kid's daughter. It looks like, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, he's trying to do that at least. He's trying to be a little bit nice, but then there's still a whole other part.
Yeah. So here, I'm almost through this here. Let's talk about a scene though that happens before that. That's really good.
Which one?
So that whole thing with the Tesla though, there's a great scene where he does figure out that the machine's been working the whole time, but all the hats which is the opening sequence of the film where you see all the hats scattered all about, are actually somewhere on the outside of the the place that he's testing this machine. He just doesn't know where these things are popping up. So to them, they keep zapping the hats and it's just not moving anywhere. And they think it's going to move right in front of them from one spot to the next. But really what's happening is it's creating a double, and it ends up like somewhere outside the facility that he's doing the testing on. So then when he's fed up with him, and he's like, this thing doesn't fucking work. I've been wasting all my money. I'm out of here. He starts walking through the woods, and this cat that he just zapped, he sees that there's two versions of the same cat like walking through the woods, and then he sees all this huge pile of all these top hats, right? Which is what he's been zapping the whole time, right? So that scene was pretty cool for Tesla. I don't know. What else do you have? Do you have anything else there? Because I can barrel through these and we can get to talking about other things. But like, it's
that from that scene it goes on to like the whole jail sequence there.
But right? the other big scene though, too, Jay, I wanted to mention here is the wife killing herself. Now the wife kills himself when she finds out the deception, essentially, that she's
her whole life.
Well,
he doesn't love it right now.
Drives her crazy. Like it takes like up to the point like at the end of the film where he actually goes to jail. It seems like for her to finally crack, I guess, when she like learned this, or I guess he went to jail maybe afterwards, but he reveals to her that essentially he has another double, right? Because
does he really though?
Yes. So you don't learn it from her. You don't see that, but you actually learn it from Scarlett Johansson's character. Because she was going to tell Scarlett remember, so Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, yeah, she was going to meet up with her.
Exactly. But then she doesn't get that chance because she fucking hangs herself. I didn't catch it either, Jay. Actually, I was watching it with Christine, and she actually pointed it out to me, and I was like, oh, okay. Because I'm like, did she actually know? Because I'm like, why would she kill herself? Because I was a little confused at that at first, because I'm like, I know her life sucks, but she's like, no, she found out, and Scarlett Johansson character said that she was going to meet with. I'm like, oh, okay. So she found that out. And yeah, she killed herself because like her whole life, she doesn't know what's real, what's up, what's down.
Yeah. I heard her ask him, right? That's the only thing that's how I ever thought of it, because I heard her ask. I thought she was killing herself because she asked, "Do you love me?" Right? And he said, "Not right now, not now," or something like that. And that threw me off.
That's how you could tell, because throughout the film. He's like, you meant it this time. Yeah. And then like some days she's like, you don't mean it today. And the days that he said that, it was magician. And the times that he said it, that he meant it, was Fallon. Right? Like that's that. Right? I know. It's one of those things.
It's like, now I'm scratching my head. Now I'm going like this because.
Yeah, I know.
I was looking, you look at the movie one whole way the whole fucking time. Then maybe you look at it a different way.
Yeah.
Then you figure out the real way and you want to go back again to see it. Now I'm going to waste another 2 hours tonight, probably. I got other shows to watch tonight.
And then, yeah, the other thing is like we just said, he shows up at the end. So you're watching him read his journal, Hugh Jackman's journal in the prison this whole time, right? And then when you get to the end of the film, this whole time he's been meeting with Fallon, and as the trial has been going on, and they basically sentenced him to be hung, like he's gonna die in prison. They found him guilty of the charges of killing Hugh Jackman's character, and this whole time there's been somebody who is like a buyer, an unknown buyer, this Lord Byron guy or whatever his name is, and he's been sending a messenger to do business with him in jail. And at the end, he actually shows up with his daughter because he needed somebody to have custody of his daughter, because they felt that Fallon guy wasn't fit to watch over her, right? So this mysterious rich benefactor is turns out to be Jackman, like Mr. Agier, the fucking great Danton with a beard now. He just walks right into the prison. This is a dead man walking, right? Like, apparently. Literally. And he's like, hey, I was the Lord Byron, or whatever his name is, this whole time. And that's when he's like, what? Like, his whole world is rocked, and he's just like, yeah, he's like, I was the one this whole time, and yeah, now I have your daughter. Someone has to take care. I was just like, that's so dirty, and he's just like, yeah, and why don't you just sign over your secrets to me, like sell them to me as you planned, and maybe I'll help you out or whatever. So he does it. And then he's like, you know what? I don't even want these anymore. And he rips them. He rips the guy. He's like, no. He's like, I'll tell you the secret code for my tricks. He's like, all my tricks, like, I'll give you the passcode or whatever. And he's like desperate. He's like, take it. Like, and then he takes it. He has this like shit-eating grin on his face. And he just rips it and he throws it away. He's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Yeah, so good. Yeah, and like, and then like you said, he goes off. The show's over, his career, like he's satisfied finally. I won, like he says, I won, like I beat you, like this is it. And he goes to clean up, I guess, the mess that he left, and the Fallon guy follows him there and shoots him because he's the guy that was on the outside, right? And finally he's able to reunite with his daughter at the end of the film and actually act as Christian Bale, that character, because he can take the disguise off and acted as this girl's father as intended, that he was never able to do as a result of this double life that they were leading, right? So it's a nice ending for him in the end, and Michael Caine actually helps him because Michael Caine is so hurt by the deception that
man, I only caught that at the end the other day. Like
they crossed paths, Jay. At the end, they crossed paths in the night. That was a setup. He basically he knew he was going there, right? He's just like, I'm not getting involved. Like he washed his hands clean. Like as soon as he found out he was alive and he figured it out for himself, he's like, I'm done with you. Like I'm never gonna help you ever again. Like we're done. And then Fallon, he lets him basically go in there and he ends up shooting him. But even when you think it's all said and done, like Jay said, that's when they reveal everything. Like Fallon shows up looking like Christian Bale, and even then, like as he's dying there, he's like, how? He's like he doesn't understand still, like how he's like, it was he's like, who was who? He's like, we were both each other. Like,
and he tells him, he just explains the whole thing.
As he's sitting there dying, he's like, what? He's like, what? How? And they start going through everything, man. It's insane. Oh man, yeah, it's crazy.
But you want to know the funny thing too is because now you don't even know at the end too, like if that's the only Hugh Jackman out there. You really don't. They leave that open, right? They okay, yeah, he got shot there at that point, but I there's so many, like now I still have unanswerable questions when we go through, so I'm gonna have to fucking ask you them when I get there, because I'm still a little bit tossed. Some of them that I've already answered myself probably tonight, now that I've figured it all out in my head, sort of thing. But there's some that I'm still a little bit confused about.
And then so I guess we can move on now. But like, that's it's crazy, man. Like when it all kind of comes full circle at the end, they reveal all that stuff as the viewer. You're just like, then the questions really start coming in. It's really like when you figure out they were both acting as each other throughout the film. And then the excellent scene is when Christian Bale, or I guess the Fallon guy, he's playing Twin, he starts walking away after he shot him, and like a fire is lit and the whole place is going up in flames. But he looks around and you see all the different water tanks with all the dead bodies of his doubles essentially in them that he's been killing over and over again as a result of trying to do this trick. And there's
my unanswerable question answered that I was just going to tell you. I was going to say it. I was going to bring it up.
So yeah, that's
it was good. No, it's because you answered it actually. Now it's like fuck, because I couldn't figure out why they were leaving at night with that fucking tank.
And that's why they hired a blind man to transport it. Mm-hmm. That's why there was a guy who was blind that he had guarding the tank.
Guys, I'm an idiot live on this channel. All right, because it took me 4 times to watch this movie to figure that out, man. I knew it was there. I was watching. I knew something was going on because I wrote this shit down on purpose.
Yeah.
Because I knew something was up and I knew I was catching something. I just couldn't figure it out and piece it together.
Yeah.
People say when you don't get enough rest and stuff, your brain doesn't work right. Maybe all those hours today fucking helped me put it all together, Nico.
Well, by doing that, like I basically just I went through all of the scenes I wrote down by telling you the whole plot of the movie, folks. So, you know,
that was the plot of the movie, everybody.
Yeah, that was the plot of the movie, everybody. Every scene that I written down was pretty much the whole, because we had to explain the mind, that like the you know what I mean, like how messed up. Yeah, like how like your mind gets twisted watching this film. In order to talk about the film, we had to explain basically what happens in this one, unfortunately, just because they even get into more deeper some of the questions we had about these things. You have to explain all of it, man. Like I looking at my list, I said every single scene I wrote down, which is pretty much the whole film, the whole plot of the film, because everything's great, man. It's just so good. Everything's so tightly and honestly, everything's important. Everything, like everything, when it comes down to it at the end, like every scene, there's not one wasted scene or like thought like put into this whole storyline. It's so well done.
I feel like that's why it's probably been overlooked over the years in that sense, because it is a movie that you have to sit down and watch, in a sense, instead of, you know, and actually take in, instead of let's say the movies Christian Bale was in at that time, what Nolan was doing, Christopher Nolan was doing at that time with the Batmans and stuff, where you wouldn't have to like sit down and be, you know, that focused on the movie. It's just it's a movie to watch for the excitement and stuff like this. This movie was a movie to watch, not only for the excitement, but also for the story behind it. There's a huge fucking story plot behind this movie, and if you don't pay attention to that part of it, like the screenplay part of it, you're not going to understand the actual theatrical part of it and the movie part of it, I don't think.
Right.
And I think that's where I went in looking at it wrong.
Well, here's the thing. You could watch the movie straight on and enjoy it for what it is. But like I said, once you figure out everything in that last scene of the film, and you kind of start rethinking everything as a result of what they reveal at the end, then you kind of watch the movie again and you'll have a whole other experience with it. I really, truly think that. Like the first time I watched this, I thought about it all evening after I watched it. Like it was late at night. I ended up having to watch it the next day. Honestly, the next day I watched this movie again after I watched it. And like what movies, there's not many films that will do that. Like there's so many movies you watch. Like I can't imagine going to watch this in a theater. I would have to have gone and watched it again after that. I honestly would have. I remember the first time, and I know a lot of people, like some people don't really like it, and they like to talk crap about this movie, and they think it's stupid. Namely Peter when he's come on this channel. Inception, the same thing. I was
gonna say Inception.
The movie made sense, but at the end, for what it was, but at the end, the ending, you don't really know. It even open ended, and it drove me insane. Like at the end of that movie, like after I went off into the night, like into my car back home, and I must have thought about it for like 2 hours. I drove Christine insane after I watched that movie. I think I was talking about it with people. No word of a lie, Jay, for about a week after I watched it. But that's good movies are like that. That's what I mean. Like it just
they keep you talking.
Yeah. And just because of like how many possibilities and
I love that.
And as a viewer, I thought there was an actual answer to be found amongst the film. But there wasn't. Like there so like I went down the rabbit hole, and that's why you see all these these things online, like fan theories about stuff. Even now we experience it. We were just talking about it with the ending of Ozark or Sopranos or whatever else. Like it keeps the conversation going in that sense, right? Like in a way, but it's not meant to be known on some things, right? But I felt that that at the time I was like, no, there has to be an answer. You have to have figured out what happened, if this was real or not at the end of the movie. Right. Like I had to have a concrete answer, to the point where even now I've just accepted that it was real at the end of that movie, but we don't know. Like, we don't know whether or not it was real at the end, but it's for my own sake of my peace of mind. I'm just like, yeah, it was real. I'm like, yeah,
it was real.
There's no way.
I'm not gonna let it keep me up overnight anymore. Exactly.
No, but it's just, that's just good art, in my opinion. Right. It really is. Like, so that's why, like, this film, it does reward you upon multiple rewatches. I have so much to say on this movie now, and I've seen this like 7 times, this movie probably. Yeah, it's
you
great.
wonder why it's got such a good review and stuff like that, because it is a great movie, and because it does keep you at the edge of your seat too. In a sense, it does, because you're focusing. You're trying to keep on the edge of your seat to focus on what the fuck is going on and who's who and what's what, and So the one that fucks me up is Scarlett Johansson right in the middle. See, just the deception. It's the deception right there. Yeah.
All right.
I love her.
Let's get. Oh yeah, she's great in this.
Fuck man.
Let's get into favorite quotes though, Jay. Why don't you hit us with one? I got a lot of these too, but you go ahead, because I know we've already mentioned a few of them here while we've been talking about the scenes.
When Cutter's first talking about it in the beginning, and he says because he doesn't trust Jack doesn't trust Bale in it in the beginning, and he says he's a musician, a magician. No wonder you would. No wonder you don't trust him, right? Because you're a musician. You're a musician. Fuck off. You're a musician too. You know what I'm saying? I can't even say the word right now.
I have it written down. He says he's a natural magician. Of course you don't trust him. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Because he's like, who is that guy? And that's the one he kind of explains who he is to him. And he's like, yeah, I don't trust this guy. Of course you don't. Yeah.
One's more in it for the fame. You can still see it.
I liked when the opening scene when they first show him and Gier go to find Tesla, and he goes and sees his handler, played by Andy Serkis, who's out in the field and stuff. He helps him, right? And he's like, yeah, sorry. This is when he first goes there. He's like, yeah, Mr. Tesla can't meet with you today. He's too busy. You're welcome to stay at the hotel, and we'll kind of call on you when we're ready for you, type of thing, right? So then he's like, okay. So he's like, he turns around and starts walking down the hill. And he's like, hey, because he knows he's a magician, right? He's like, hey, what am I holding? And he has his back turned walking down the hill. He's like, your watch.
Your watch.
You see him holding the watch. He's like, good one. He's like, magicians, he's like, oh, you got me. Yeah, so that one was good too. I like that quote. How about you? What else?
I got one that Angier says that Jackman says, and he says, no one cares about the guy in the box, right? They care about the one that disappears.
Which ties back to the end of the film where he confronts him in prison in a box, and he says that to him. He's like, right? He's like, yeah, you're just gonna die in here, and no one cares about the man. He's like, right? He says that no one cares about the man in the box. He brings it back around at the end of that. He's like, yeah, you're just gonna die in prison. I'm gonna steal your daughter. I was like, whoa. I won. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, so I wrote down this part. We talked about this already here, though. When they go to see the Chinese guy and he's talking to him in the street, Christian Bale, and he says, he finally seems to understand how he does it, and he understands it all. And this is possibly what sparked the idea. I don't know, unless it was already in play. But he's like total devotion to his art, self-sacrifice. It's the only way to escape all this. And he's like talking about real life, right? Like he's like, it's the only way to escape. He's like, that's the trick, like essentially, right? Like he's like, so because he knocks on like the walls, like you know what I mean? He's like, yeah, it's the only way to escape this. Like you have to and that's essentially what he ends up doing with his twin, right? And whether or not that was already in play, because I like to believe it is. I also say it right now, that is definitely one of my unanswerable questions. It's really, I feel, the only unanswerable question in this film, because he alludes to having this trick, but how long did they have this going on for, right, in their lives? But I would assume before he met these guys, because he was already kind of putting his craft together at that point, right? So that's a great quote that he says, because it's so true. It plays out the rest of the film after that, and that self-sacrifice, right? So
well, there's a good one too by Tesla there. He says, the one that you were trying to think is, and he says, exact science isn't exact science, right? Because it isn't, right?
That's right.
And it's there for the taking. It's there to try, and it is really, even to this point, to this day. I mean, exact science isn't always 100% correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you got to keep trying, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
so that was an actual good. I mean, I wonder if that was some sort of Tesla quote back in the day.
Possibly. Possibly, yeah.
Right. I mean, because that I
don't always work. Another quote I had written down to piggyback off of what you said about Tesla there, though. He's like, oh, where is it? He's like, yeah, don't forget your hat. And he's like, which one's mine? He's like, they're all your hat, Mr. Angiers. because there's like literally like 100 of the double duplicates of the hats essentially that he's been making this whole time, right? As he's about to walk off. But yeah, these are ones I kind of already mentioned, so I'll just fire this through. We already talked about this, like the thing about the bird, but where's his brother? And he's like, he's a sharp lad. When he like notices that that the bird was another bird, and which knot did you tie? You don't know. Like those are really good quotes in here.
What about the one with by John Kane? What's the name? Michael Caine. Sorry.
He has the best lines in the film.
He had ones when he gets shot. When he gets shot from fucking falling, and when they trap the second guy in the box, he gets shot. He saves me from cutting you an air hole.
That's right. Yeah.
I was dying.
Right? And then another one that he has that's really good I have written down here is this is when they're trying to perfect his new act for the bird trick with the cage, right? Mm-hmm. And he's like, I don't want to kill doves. And then Michael Caine's like, then stay off the stage. You're a magician, not a wizard. Like he says that many times to him. He's like, listen, there's no, and that's he was so good in this. Michael Caine's character is so good. I just love the thing I centered in on though with him and this movie though. This time upon this rewatch though, that I don't know if I've ever focused on, is he had the answer right from the start. I'd already said this, but it's just crazy to me that he tells him from the start that it's a double, but he just doesn't want to accept it. Like
I just feel he knew that he was gonna know it was gonna drive them insane just figuring it out, right? Because it's probably driven a man insane back in the day in those times when people were trying to come up with a lot of different tricks and stuff like that, you know. Because that's the ultimate trick, right? Disappearing and coming back, right? I mean, it's got to be the ultimate trick. Yeah. The only people that can do it is Star Trek. So that's we already figured that out already. But he has what says the same thing. He goes for that same sort of sense, but he has the thing. Obsession is going. It's a young man's game, right? I can't follow you anymore, right? Yes. He's getting too old to do that shit. That's the whole fucking thing, right?
That's a really. I had that one written down as well. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's kind of when he parts ways with it.
In a weird way, yeah.
But this is one of my favorite quotes. I'm going to just jump ahead. This is one of my favorite quotes in the whole film. And he says it at the end. Fallon, the twin, when it's revealed that he was playing the other guy all along at the end after he shoots Angier, and he's sitting there explaining all this to him, how they've been doing this for a long time. He breaks down everything about the obsession, about the greed of Angier, and he's like, went halfway around the world. You spent a fortune. He's like, you did terrible things. He's like, and you did it all for nothing. Like and as he's dying, like bleeding out, and it's so true. It's so true because he's so far gone in what he did at the end there. That he says that to him, and the whole time his sacrifice was insane too, but it was of his own, you know what I mean? Like it all it did was ruin like he didn't do anything to anybody. Like sure, yes, the women and their lives and everything else. Yeah, there was people hurt. Yeah, his wife killed herself, right? But it wasn't like. I gotta say, like at the end, Jackman's way worse. I think at the end of that film, like there was the lengths he would go to, like the whole time. It turns out really like who was the better magician, Jay? Honestly, at the end of that, because it was always a trick that he performed using a double and doing it on stage. Like he didn't go the extent of having someone create something out of sight, you know what I mean? Like that's like he really went to to a place that I don't think that's the other quote I have written down. He's like hold on, I have it right here where he's like like, you're not afraid to get your hands dirty anymore, are you? And he's like, no, not anymore. He's like, and then this is when they're in prison. He's in prison visiting him. He's like, and I win. He's like, because nobody cares about the man in the box. So you said the man who disappears. And he's like, you win. And he's like, we're way past this. He's like, we're not, this isn't a trick anymore. Like, he's like, this is my life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's just like, he's so crazy. And like, he steals his daughter, Jay. He steals the man's daughter.
When I clued into that, I fucking lie. I was like, "Are you serious? Like, this is like what they would call falling down the fucking YouTube fucking wormhole." You know what I mean? But he did it with magic, and he just fell into this dark place, man, where you don't want to really fall into with it, right? And and it just fucked him right up, dude. Like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, up to that point, I think he was probably. I was enjoying his character so much until I realized how much he fucking didn't care about anybody.
Yeah, he went full circle. Like, at the end, he was evil. Like, I get it. This guy killed your wife. Like, I understand that. But like, he was something else at the end. Like, the fact that he stole his daughter out of like that's why like Michael Caine turns his back on him. He's like, are you serious right now? He's just like,
I can't believe he did it.
Yeah, like, it's not only did he lie to him about being alive, like dead, and everything else that he went through, but he's like, what are you doing with this man's daughter? Like, he's like, he's like, who is this for right now? Like, that's what I mean. Like, that's why even he failed.
Sick person, man. You wonder about that after.
No, he went too far. He says that, right? Like, the obsession, like, Tesla warns him. Tesla warns him. He's like, I've seen where obsession can take a man. He's like, don't do this. Like, he's like, leave now. Like, he warns, he's like, I'll make this for you if you want. And he's like, I suggest you leave. He's like, leave and don't go, like, you do not want to go down this road, my friend. Like, and he's just like, if you know how obsession is, like, you can't convince me otherwise. And he's like, okay, like, he's like, I'll make it for you. But he knows, he warns him. He warns him. Like,
it was a weird thing when you really figure out who went down the worst of it. Like, who got the worst of it out of those two.
But it does go back and forth for a while there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's equally awful, Christian Bale. I mean, at certain points of the film, like, those guys, what they did, like, even that, the extent that they went to for that deception is insane too. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's not a normal, like, that's like,
I mean, you gotta cut your brother's fingers off, bro. That's the fucked up part.
His fingers off, yeah. And that's another thing you don't catch either, Jay, is remember that girl's like, these wound looks fresh or whatever all of a sudden. Like, what happened? Remember, she's cleaning again, and it's because he made him cut off his fingers, right? Because they had to continue to play that part with each other, right? It's,
dude,
yeah, man. Yeah.
It's like he says, Christian Bale says, be careful, be very careful of giving someone the power over you, right? You're giving someone the power over you, right? Because that's ultimately what both these guys are doing.
Exactly.
Not only to each other, but to their doubles.
I'm glad you caught that, because that's a question I had in this rewatch for unanswerable questions, was like, do you think he was talking about his own situation because he said that to the drunk Danton guy?
Yeah.
But then if you think about it, he knew firsthand when he said that. Thank you. See, so you just confirmed my belief on that. See, we're answering our own answerable questions. When we get to the category, we're going to have none, because me and Jay already talked about everything. No, I had that, Jay, written down, because that was my question was, is he speaking from his own experience when he says that to him? Because as the viewer at this point, you just think he's getting inside his head, which he is. But he knows from his own personal experience that that's the truth. He's like, the other person will hold this over you. Like, he can control you if you do this. Like, and it's true that if I had to say out of the two of them, it was Fallon that didn't have the life, right? Like, it seemed like he didn't have like the glory of going out to the restaurant, being this popular magician.
Yeah, to be the guy with the glasses on, the makeup, all that stuff. Yeah, but he also said they switched back and forth from each other, and they played different parts with each. So they both got to enjoy that the audience. You know, when he goes, they had to tell him to sit in the box there. Sorry, he goes, not in the box, but understand what's it like to for you to watch the applause from under the stage.
I have that quote written down too. Does he like him? Does he like hearing? Yeah. What? Hold on, I have it written. Yeah, that's. Does he like bowing beneath the stage or whatever? Right? Does he like to take his bows underneath
the stage?
Yeah,
because they got to switch. They both got to take their bows. Right. Sometimes if he shows when he runs to the back there, and he goes to the other side. It was you knew who was going out.
Well, that's why the Fallon guy at the end there, he's got that huge shitty grin on his face. He's so pleased with himself when he's explaining this all to it. Like he's like this. He's like, yeah, we both did. He's just like because he's even amazed to see like what he's telling him, and he's trying to wrap it, and you can see like he's like fading. You know, he's dying. He's just he can't like fucking wrap his head around it, right? Like he's even no, like he's like, what? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, we both played like and like yeah, it's just but like he just seemed like the better person though out of the two of them. If anything, you could say that Christian Bale was the one, like the Alfred. He's the one that took it too far. He was the one that went because remember when he comes and visits him in the jail and he tells him that and he throws him the ball, like you said, he says that he's like, I should have listened to you. He's like, I shouldn't have went after his secrets. Remember, he says, I should have listened to what you told me. He had like a tear coming down his eye.
Yeah, he said, do it for us or something like that.
Yeah, that's what he says. Like, and then he's like, you were right. Like he admits, like you were right. I shouldn't have. I took it too far. That's essentially like he had realized that at the end, and they seemed like the only person that understood that, I think, was the Fallon guy, like his twin. Like it was. And that's why it was nice that he got to walk away with his own kid at the end of that movie, because if there was going to be anybody that should have been able to out of all of them at the end, it should have been that guy, in my opinion. Like, and I'm glad Michael Caine was able to protect her at the end of the film and take her like he did, and he was able to come and like grab her from him at the end of that film, because you know it was just enough of this double life, right? At the end of that, like he was able
the
to.
The whole thing was a lie. Their career, their everything was just a whole fucking lie.
That's what I mean. It's too much. Like, and the person that was the magician with the talent or whatever, the main one. But that's what made me think too, Jay, is that they kind of said that he was a bad showman, and they said this sometimes he was bad at the trick. Like you said, if they were both doing those parts, it seemed like Fallon was the brains of the operation. Like he came up with the tricks, because you always saw him like looking in the books and doing stuff or whatever. But in those scenes,
which one was Fallon at that time?
That's what I mean. Who can we tell? We can't tell for certain who's who in any of those scenes.
They show right there when they're switching the makeup together, right? Like they're doing it. We both did that. When they took it off, you got two Batman sitting beside each other. I mean, I keep saying Batman, but it's just Bales were sitting beside each other. It was a trip. And then I'm thinking, what happens at the end there? He says something, and I forget that fucking quote that he says there, man, right at the end. I didn't write it down because when he falls into the fucking thing, when he's being hung.
It says abracadabra.
Yeah, right? Like in the fucking thing, right? So
and the opening line, he says before he dies too, you watching closely, like as he's getting hung up, because he's getting inside the guards' heads, like he's gonna escape this death, right? Which is a real thing that's happened with magicians, right? They mess with folks like that, right? Because people are afraid because they believe in actual magic. Back then, like Houdini, there was a whole supernatural aspect to him, right?
Yeah. It was crazy. You would think they were fucking, they weren't real people. They would think they were fucked up.
I forgot where I heard this. Have you ever heard this story? I'll give you a quick little story though. Story time. Have you ever heard the story about Houdini when he was alive? He had something where he told, I guess I don't know if it was his wife or his lover, whoever he was with before he died. He said something to her that, I'm going to give you this secret, this word. Okay. And if ever pops into your head or something comes up in life that this is this code word, essentially, that I'm going to give you, you and me are the only ones that are going to know this word. Okay. If I die and this ever comes to, like, if there's it's something that happens or whatever, and the word becomes clear to you, it means there's such thing as the afterlife, and I'm the one who's sending you this message. Like, how crazy is that, right? Like, that's right. Like, so
So
let's say,
yeah, essentially, if I died tomorrow or something, but I had told you something tonight, and you remembered, and something along your life now, the rest of your life, all of a sudden happens, and
yes,
it it makes you
it
think of
presents
what I
itself.
said, or it presents
Let's
itself.
say the word somehow presents itself to me in my life, in my everyday life somehow. Okay. Let's
It
say
would
the
have
word,
to be something really unique, though.
yes. Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like, and I think it was, and I think it actually occurred to the person. I might be getting that wrong, but I remember hearing that story about him, and I just found that really fascinating. That, like, even like, you know what I mean? Like, that just seems like such a magician thing to do with somebody. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's really, I always,
It
when I heard
is.
that story, I was like, that's very interesting, because I know that there was a whole aspect of his, not only his tricks and stuff like that, but back then there was a whole, like, he was really into the whole thought of the afterlife, and they did seances and they did things like that. And that's when you heard about people levitating and doing weird things like these during these parties. Like, there was like a whole supernatural aspect of like the magic and stuff like that, because people thought these people were like wizards and stuff like that, because they couldn't explain the stuff that they were doing back then half the time, right? And now that's why it's stupid today, because now we got to get people like the Chris Angels and them doing these like crazy stunts, essentially, because they know how to coordinate these type of things nowadays, and it's no longer, you know what I mean? Like, there's no
Magic is no longer that fun anymore to watch.
exactly. So it's just different. It's different now. It's no longer, yeah, it's more like, yeah, illusions for like illusion. It's not there's no like, it's, you know what I mean? There's no showmanship
There's too
to
much
it.
science behind it now.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
problem. There's a lot of science that can actually explain what's going on. So I
yeah,
think even then, at that point, there was a lot of science too, except for the disappearing person thing, right? Like, I mean, even to this day, there's something. No, there isn't. That's the one thing that,
yeah.
unless you're using a double, even to this day, I don't think you can duplicate.
Well, that's why they kind of went to the extent of saying the whole thing about them including Tesla in this, right? That's why I think it's an interesting move that they kind of
That
went
that
that
is
route.
kind of freaky though, but I didn't realize that they were actually talking about him in this one, right? Until I heard it, and then I was, trying to
Right.
pay attention.
But yeah, for quotes, what else we got here? Yeah, like we said this one before, the whole yeah, I love you. See, today it's true. That whole thing about that, you could tell like who it was, the wife and her. The Tesla thing, have you considered the cost? Go home. I can recognize an obsession. No good can come of it. That one. This line was pretty good too. When he gets so Hugh Jackman gets, this is again when he's like super obsessed, and he's going through the journal. And I think this is when like uh what's her name, the magicians, the Scarlett Johansson's character, like going through it, and he's like, yeah, this is, gone past, like, you caring about your wife, like, she's trying to convince him not to mess around with this anymore, and he's like, I don't care about my wife, I care about his secrets.
Yeah, that was
And
that
then,
was a big turning point, eh?
yeah, and like, and he stops, and then, and like, he doesn't even like, he just keeps going, like, he's like, yeah, that's right, like, he recognizes how messed up it is that he said it, but he knows it's true at that point, like, he
Yeah.
doesn't care anymore, like, it's gone past that point already for him, right? Yeah, that was a really good one too, I thought.
I think he's realized he's already tried to seek the revenge that he needed for his wife, and now he's going after something totally different. His mindset has completely changed. Now he's going after the actual magician himself.
Right.
In that sense, to be the better person.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. Even when he says after after that whole scene at the bar when he finds the double there, Bale finds Jackman's double there, and he goes and he performs that trick, and he comes out and he hangs him up there and stuff before he leaves and stuff. He says, "Hey, go easy on the poor sap." He tries very hard, right? Because he's
Yeah.
meaning because he wants everybody to come over the street and see him do a real trick, right?
Yeah.
So that was the whole like that was another good quote I thought he had.
Yeah. I got another one here again, the jail scene when he confronts him at the end, and Jackman, the first thing he says to him when they pretty much go up there, he's like, and all I wanted to do is prove I was the better magician, and you wouldn't leave me alone. Like he's convinced. Like I mean, it's true, right? After he's convinced. Like you know what I mean? There's something to be said there too. Just because, like, yeah, I may have started off that way, but it just didn't end that way. Like you know what I mean? Like he went above and beyond, as we've already said. Like towards the end, it's crazy, right? And yeah, does he enjoy taking his bows underneath the stage? Yeah, that's the one that he says there. And yeah, sacrifice, Robert. That's the price of a good trick. Yeah, that one. Yeah. So I don't know. Do you have anything else? Do you have any others there?
Never show anyone. After showing the little boy the trick, right? When he shows that little boy the trick, he says they'll never show it anyone, right? They'll beg and they'll flatter you for the rest, like for the secret, right?
Yes.
But as soon as you give it up, you'll be nothing to them. And he says that from the beginning. So does he know all the way from there that he's playing this fucking secret? Like I'm fucking tripping out because this whole movie, like you don't know where the beginning is, the end is, the middle, and it throws you back and forth. Yeah. And I'm like, am I taking part in a magic trick in this movie? I remember I asked you, I'm taking part in a magic trick.
Yeah. Well, that's
basically,
again, they say it from the get-go when Michael Caine's doing the narration and he explains the how the prestige. If we didn't talk, I don't think we talked about this.
No, we didn't bring it up. No,
it's the reveal of the trick at the end. Like that's basically what the prestige is, like the turn essentially at the end. Like,
so I got it written down here.
I do too. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh no. Okay. No, I didn't know. But I said that's the pledge, right? That's something you take something ordinary, and then the turning point, right, where you that ordinary thing and you make it extraordinary.
Exactly.
Right, and then you bring it back. Because there's no ending. There's nothing good about something if you make it disappear and it doesn't come back, right? You can make anything disappear.
Right.
You know, so he says it right there, and I'm trying to figure out as you watch the movie, you try to figure out what are they throwing at you that.
And it ends that way too when he says it, and he says, "You want it, or you want to be fooled." Like that's the thing. As viewers, I feel like we knew the answer the whole time. Hugh Jackman's character, Angier, knew the answer the whole time. Michael Caine knew it. He told him right from the start, but but he didn't want to accept it, and it became something it wasn't, right? And then it became like this whole other thing entirely, right? And but that's what I mean. It's like he's like you buy in to the fact that you want to accept that this is magic that you're watching, not that you know that there's a secret behind it, that there's a reveal. Like, you know what I mean? We're buying in, trying to let them guide us through the thing. That's why the only thing, but the brilliance of the movie is the reveal. It was that if they never revealed what was going on, you know what I mean? Like true magician's fashion. You know what I mean? But then there would be no point to the film. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm glad that they revealed everything at the end for us, but you're still left with many answers, as you guys can tell through this conversation. We are, right?
They reveal it in 10 minutes, so it's not like they reveal it in a quick time frame either. They reveal it that last sequence in like a 10-minute frame.
Yeah,
and it's like, really, guys, you fucking made me sit through all of this.
Drop all this on me at the end. I gotta rewind and watch it.
Yeah, you're telling me this is how simple it was if you just figured it out and paid attention. Exactly. Is basically what they're fucking doing, the fucking guy.
Yep. And the one last one I think I have written down here. So many quotes, as you can tell, but they're all so good. Again, is a Michael Caine line. Now Michael Caine, when he was at his wife's funeral there. You see him, he's his eulogy or whatever, he's telling a story about drowning and how he heard that it was like going home. That's what he was told. And they're like, at the time he was like, oh yeah, that's very beautiful and really nice of you, thank you for saying that. And then at the end, when he confronts him, it's a great scene when Michael Caine confronts him at the end when he goes there, and again he's underneath the stage with all of the water tanks and the bodies there. And he says to him, he's like, you know that story I told you that time when he finds out what he was doing that whole time? He's like about drowning. He's like, yeah, you said it was a nice feeling. It was like going home. Where he's like, I was lying. He said it was like agony. It was like, and he's just, and then he just walks away, and he's disgusted with him. He's just like, I'm done with you. You know what I mean? He's like, I was lying, for the sake of your wife. Like, he's like, it's agony, and like, how could you be doing this? Like, he literally is drowning his own body every single night to perform that trick for how many nights that he was doing that show, right? That's why he's just, it's so
Michael
demented.
Caine lets you know that he's just a sick person at that point.
So demented what he does, though. That's why, like, they are both trying to convince each other, and he's so right. Like, he's convinced that Christian Bale's the worst person in the world, and that's why he breaks it down. He's like, no, he's like, yours was pointless. He's like, what you did, like, it was, who is this for? This is just to stroke your ego and such. Like, that's like, he's like, this is pointless. He's like, mine is actual sacrifice. He's like, mine is like a choice. Yours is something. He's like, I don't know what this is. Like,
yeah.
Right?
Yours remind the way you said it there just reminded me of how Jackman is with Ryan Reynolds in real life, how they always at each other. It's kind of weird, no? It's like, this was before all this, like, little beefs between them, just for fun. But it's kind of funny how it's almost like that same sort of character in that weird way. And not, but actors. Yeah. But
that's all I got for quotes, though, man.
I had another one from Tesla. Things don't always go as planned, right? But that's the beauty of science, right? And that's another one. Like, these science things, like these quotes that I was trying to pick up from the Tesla, I wanted to read up and see how much of a part it played in the story. Like, I don't know. You said this was just a book before, or was it based off a book, a novel?
This is a fictional, it's a novel called The Prestige by Christopher, who wrote the book. And this is adapted from a novel. Yeah, so
I wanted to see how far back it actually was taking things, right? So when I was kind of looking it up, that's why I wanted to figure out these real Tesla things and see. It started making me wonder, like, how that whole time frame comes into with this fucking time frame that we're using now. And I'm not talking about the science, but the whole fucking I am talking about the science, not the magic, but the science of everything.
I mean,
I
would say it's very loosely based on actual events, but I think that the things that they pulled from are actual, like, people and actual factual stuff is taken out of context and put into this story. You know what I mean? Like, I think there is things that are true, like, like the whole thing between him and Edison and all, so there is,
that was all real.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, we know those things for a fact. Like, at least that's what history tells us, right? But I mean, it's one of those things too. But you know what they say about the victor goes is no, the history is written by the victors or something like that. I think that's the quote, but it's basically, if you live long enough or come out on top, but in a certain situation, you're able to tell the story the way you want it. Right. So whether or not things that we know that are true from American history books about Edison, because clearly they wanted Edison to be the bigger of the two.
Obviously.
Right. That's why there's people that are more on the Nikola Tesla was you know what I mean? Like, Edison was a hack and he stole his ideas. And again, the Simpsons episode really goes into all this. It really does. No, it really does. It's called, like, I forgot what episode. It's Homer's obsessed with Edison. It's like the one episode where he actually goes out of his way to learn about something on the show. Like, he becomes obsessed with Edison and his invention, and like he thinks he's like brilliant. And he finds out that he's not as smart as he thought he was, because he might have come across some things by other means or by accident, but it doesn't mean that, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take away all of his accomplishments. I think that was kind of like the thing in the episode left you with, was like, it doesn't matter if, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like, this man inspired how many other people in his way, you know what I mean? Like, so it doesn't necessarily matter what was right, who was right or wrong in that situation, what's the truth.
Changed life. It changed life. Both of their way they were studying science that time.
Exactly. Exactly.
Right?
So yeah, no, it's interesting. So it honestly is a very, very good episode of The Simpsons that I remember to this day. And I didn't know any of that. That's the thing about that show. It was very educational. I know everyone just talks shit because it is a bunch of jokes, but it actually taught you
learn a lot.
Yes, and in I know that Canadians, we try to say, "Oh, Americans, they don't know shit about our history and everything and this and that." But like, to be honest with you, they weren't teaching that stuff. I feel like in school for us either. A lot of it, like they were, but not to the extent of that they do. Obviously, I'm sure in American history in America, like there's a lot of things. And whether or not a lot of that stuff that they're teaching them is true or not, I mean that's that whole revisionist history type stuff. That's a whole other story. Right? We'll get that's a topic for another episode. I think
we'll have to find a movie based on that history.
Yeah, I think we actually got to get the stats here for that one. I think we're gonna pull stats to be the one. I could hear her somewhere in the background yelling right now. It's not true. You didn't
not
create
true. I watch Fox TV. No.
Oh man, no. Okay, so
okay, I got shit for watching the Fox one with their Johnny Depp trial. That's why I made fun of it there. That's why.
All right, go ahead, Jay. Take it away. Favorite performer, Jay.
Oh man, I had a hard one with this one, dude. I really did. I really did. Now
I surprised myself with my answer, though. I'll give you that.
No, my favorite performer was Hugh Jackman. He's a performer, bro. For this movie, he was the performer. He was the performance in a lot of scenes, big scenes too. In that sense, I feel like that was my favorite performer in this movie. Even down to his dying scene at the end there. You know what I mean? Like it was just a great way. I mean, I know he's a great actor all the way around. I mean,
the emotion and the range of his character in this
character. Don't get me wrong. I'm not putting down anybody else in this movie, but it was hard for me to pick, and it was a close pick, right? Between the two, I was gonna take both lead actors there and say because their performances were great, but then you got you had Scarlett Johansson in the mix. You fucking had Michael Caine. I used to keep saying John Caine. Michael Caine, bro. You know what I mean? But I ultimately took for my favorite performer, Jackman.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, Jay, this might surprise you and some of the view. Yeah, because if you watch this show, guys, I've said many a times, and we've reviewed many movies. And I think Christian Bale is like one of my favorite actors, and that's working today currently. So for me, my default was going to go to Christian Bale, of course, for this film. But like Jay said, and he pointed out, and I really had to think on this one. I mean, to be honest with you, Hugh Jackman, I don't think I've seen enough of his work to think that he's one of my favorite actors. He's not. I think he's a fine actor. I think he's a good actor. I love him as Wolverine, but I've never thought of him probably as good as I did in terms of performance as I have in this film. The range and the things this man goes through as this character in this film, and the horrible, like the emotional range even he has to hit for this different scenes that, you know what I mean? Like this is that man that's driven to insanity, that loses his wife, that, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different, he had the meteor role, I think, out of the two, because Christian Bale half the time had to act as this other guy who's who's disguised the whole time. We don't even really know, you know what I mean? Like but honestly, not taking anything away from his performance is also so good, Christian Bale. Like I could have easily given it to Christian Bale, but no, Hugh Jackman is who I ultimately went with too. I agree with you, Jay. Yeah, no, I was surprised myself with that one, because like I'm like, when I first was about, I'm like, oh, obviously it's gonna be Christian Bale, and I was like, no, I'm like, Jackman's character is so much better in this movie. I think he just had the better of the roles, let's say, but it's not even like he did such a good job playing that character. So gotta go with Jackman. Like you said, he is a performer. This guy,
but he's a great actor too, man. I mean, like all around,
he is.
You know, and like I said, I don't want to put nothing down for Christian Bale because he's got some crazy movies. I mean, he's had stuff like The Fighter, and there's certain ones where he can get emotional and he can get very dramatic.
But to your point, I said the same thing, and I'm like, in my head, being as big of a fan as I am of his, can I even say that this is in his top 5? And I said ultimately no, probably. So so then I'm like, he doesn't hit the range like he does in so many of his other. That's why I was like, he's great in this. But Jackman's the guy who kind of went over the top, like over and above, I think, of this one. And Christian Bale just delivered another good performance. But this is not one of his top 3, maybe even top 5 best performances in this film, Christian Bale. And that just goes to show you how good of an actor I think he is. Like, you know what I mean? Like and I just don't think this was it for him. Like he was great in this, but you know, I don't want to say he phoned it in because he didn't. But
you got to remember too, like with Hugh Jackman, you know, Wolverine doesn't do nothing for his career in a sense. I mean, obviously it does huge for his career in a sense of money wise, but when it comes to his screen performance and his theatrical performance, this has got nothing. That's got nothing for him. Like, I mean, you can't base him off those, right?
Bro, I haven't seen him. This guy does fucking play. He does the Les Miserables or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. Like, that's just
go see fucking around. Yeah.
Thinking in that, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's I can't do that. Apparently, his other film, Christine keeps telling me to watch of his, is this Greatest Showman on Earth. Apparently, he's amazing in that movie. I haven't seen it, but apparently,
Greatest Showman on Earth. Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, that's another decent movie, man.
Apparently, he's great. Apparently, he's great in that movie. Yeah, that's what I mean. I haven't seen. I just know him as Wolverine, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
I know. I figured that much, right? Like
he's a great Wolverine. He's a great Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
I can't picture anybody else playing Wolverine because of it. Like, I can't. I really, it's sad because, like, unless they do a Deadpool Wolverine, then you're not going to see this guy play him again. No, it's true. I already said that. Like, I'm not doing another one unless they do a crossover of these characters because they're friends. Like
they are good friends, man.
They're good friends. So, he seems like a
they're
nice.
Both great actors.
Yeah, they're both great. He's great. Anyways, great. I'm glad we agreed on that. Hugh Jackman killed this performance. Yeah, he's amazing in this movie. Hands down, it goes to him.
Yeah, no, it's so true, bro. I mean, like, you can't. Like I said, Christian Bale. Like you said, I think there's other movies that he's done that his performance is a lot better.
You said it. The Fighter.
Right. He's played everything. Big Short, bro. He's played in fucking. I got over here Ford versus Ferrari. He was in there.
Great that movie. That's a great.
You know what I mean? So I never even watched that, but I know that they've talked about his performance in that movie, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, he's been in everywhere. I got it right here. Exodus, bro. American Hustle, Out of Furnace, your Batman
American
movies.
Psycho, which we talked about on here. Yeah. This doesn't. That's what I mean. This isn't like in even.
He plays like the movies like 310 to Uma to whatever that you why. And those movies are hard to play.
Yes.
They are not easy to play those types of characters.
Yeah, this is easy. I mean, he even had his own actual accent in this film, right? Like he just like made it more like it seems like you know what I mean? Like I think he went a little like more like, you know, I don't know if it's the Cockney accent like Michael Caine does, but like more like you know, of this era of England, I guess.
Of England, yeah.
But he does have that accent, you know what I mean? Like that is his actual. So like he doesn't even go outside of his comfort zone so much in this movie as he does in other films, right? Like he forms himself into somebody else, right? So no, you're right. No, I agree. It was just my default, and that's why I said even to Christine, I'm like I think it's just a biased opinion if I put Christian Bale. As I told her, she's like, yeah, Hugh Jackman's the way better actor in this movie. Like, I was just like, he is. I just don't know I don't love his work as much as I do Bale's, but that doesn't mean that this isn't his. This is probably one of the best things I've seen him do, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Hugh Jackman, that is. All right, so next up, I think there's only one answer to this, and I'm sure Jay put down the same thing. Favorite cameo? It's got to be Bowie.
It has to, bro. Yeah, you know what's funny, dude? I only realized it was him. I'll be honest with you. The other day,
it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. He's old. He's old here, right? This is before he he probably died not too long after this, right? Like, when did he die?
I don't know. I don't even know. Is he dead? Yeah, he died last year or something like that, I think.
Oh, that's very recent then. Okay, he's just old and his hair has dyed in this. It looks weird. Like his hair, it doesn't look like David Bowie here, right? I mean, I know he likes doing that, but
no, but I mean, he also, it was funny because the other day, 2016, so a few years back now.
Oh, so he died 10 years after this film. Okay, never mind. Yeah. I thought it was not too long after this. Okay, so he's old here though. Still, he looks old in this role. I don't know.
It's funny because I had heard some songs from him the other day, and I had bought because my uncle's really into David Bowie, right? Like there's certain groups that he was into and certain things. So I picked him up a mug He doesn't know about it, so I don't think he watches the show. So that's okay. I can talk about it on here, but that's when it clued in that I think that's David Bowie.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't really, I mean, they don't make it, obviously, it's not the David Bowie from fucking Changes song and stuff like that, right? I mean, obviously, fucking, it's a little bit different. Now he's in the acting career.
Yeah.
Right? So, but yeah, that was easy. My favorite character.
Sure. Absolutely. Right? So, absolutely. All right. Overacting award. You got anything for this, Jay?
Overacting. I didn't put anything down, but I can wing something on this one because
I didn't either. I thought everybody delivered their performances as they should have. I don't think there was.
Yeah, just the annoying kid maybe in the beginning that cries. And he wants to be a prick about giving away the fucking giving away the trick, you know?
Yeah.
I'll give it to that kid. But no, other than that, I think everybody played. Remember, it's hard to do an overacting role, I think, in that time frame. I mean, because really, most of the time, if you walk into a pub back in England in those time frames, everybody was overacting because they're fucking drunk. You know what I mean? So right. There's all. I mean, you could have got away with saying maybe Hugh Jackman's double that he had, but that was him. I mean, you can't really say that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, no. I would. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people say that about Bale, some of his performances, but I don't think he was. I didn't write down anybody. I didn't think anybody. There's a couple.
I didn't think so either, man.
There's a couple categories I didn't write anything down because I didn't know. I mean, even
the guy that goes like this with the fucking drape, like that's a little bit fucking dramatic. I mean, anybody in theater is dramatic in that sense, right?
Let's give it to that guy.
Let's give it to that guy. Who is that guy?
Yeah, that was a little much there, but calm down. Same with this one. Thank you. I didn't give anything the worst performance either.
Performance?
Do you have one for worst performance? I didn't think so. I didn't give anybody. I think everyone did a great job. I would really have to pick somebody.
You couldn't say, you can't really say there isn't very many people in there. Everybody did what they were supposed to do. I think if that was the way that the screenplay is and everything was supposed to play out, I think they did a really good job. And it's hard to, even just to pick out little things, man, like, just little things that somebody's done wrong or somebody's done a little bit different, right? But no, I couldn't figure out anything. Right? So I don't think I have a worse performance. I think out of all the performances, I think, it's maybe an early Scarlett Johansson or something, so maybe a little bit different.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying about her, but she her role wasn't too
step it up.
Yeah, I felt it was understated. Like it wasn't she didn't have the heavy lifting, let's say, with her role, right? I mean, she was there to look pretty and kind of like also I actually thought she had some good scenes with them, like opposite Christian Bale and like she played opposite both of them, and I think she did a good job, right? So no, I'm not trying to I'm not trying to, you know what I mean, undersell her by saying she's just there to look pretty, but I mean her character though was supposed to be the pretty magician's assistant, right? I mean, and I mean she was dolled up, right? I mean she looked great. I mean, I think Scarlett Johansson is a beautiful woman, and she's very young in this movie, and she looks great in this movie. Don't get me wrong, but she's great, man.
She always looks good.
Yeah, no, worst performance, I wouldn't say her. No, I don't have anybody for this one. So
not that I can think of either, man. Yeah, not that I can think of because I think they did a great job.
Or that guy or that person, I guess, award for me in this sense. I actually am going to go with a woman for this one. I went with the person that played Sarah, his wife, Rebecca Hall. She's actually in the movie The Town. She has black hair in that, and she's been in a bunch of other things I've seen too. But I recognized her probably for the first time watching it this time from that film because I really like The Town as well. Have you seen that movie? The Ben Affleck? It's the
Ben Affleck one.
Ben Affleck directed
it. Was on Prime or whatever, right?
Yeah, it's the one where they rob banks.
Okay, that's who that is. I know I've seen her face, and she looked like for some reason she reminded me of the Tony Danza chick, but I couldn't remember fucking who it was. But no, just
the
her
boss.
face. Yeah, she remembered me of that chick. But
No,
then I remember when I seen her name, it wasn't her.
Yeah, she plays Sarah, the wife. She ends up hanging herself, Rebecca Hall, and yeah, I most know her from The Town, and she was in this, and she's in some other good things too. I haven't necessarily seen too many of the other things, but yeah, she's in Iron Man 3. She's in what is this? I didn't hear that. I didn't watch this movie, but apparently this one's really good.
Which one?
This Vicky Cristina Barcelona. I didn't watch that, but apparently that was a movie people liked. Yeah, so I've seen her before. Holmes and Watson. Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, she's very good in this, and yeah, I just recognized her, and I never knew her name, and she looks much different than the other things I saw her in. So yeah, I'm gonna give it to Rebecca Hall.
I got what's his name there? Ricky Jake, the guy who played your buddy there with the curtain.
Oh, okay.
Because I know him from, well, he was in Boogie Nights. He was in The Heist. He's on The Heist. I seen a few episodes of that, and I wasn't really the biggest, fan.
Grumpy Gorgonzola.
No, the one I remember him from a lot is I watched that series Sneaky Pete, and he was in there too, right? So he was one of the guys in there, and I knew his fucking little fat face with his hair, and I couldn't remember where I seen him from. He's been probably in other like small little roles and shit here and there, but I couldn't figure out where I had seen him in until I had to look it up. But it is on Sneaky Pete, because I used to like that one that was on Prime for a little while. I don't know whatever happened to it. It disappeared, never came back. I think they finished it.
I've heard of it, and I remember people enjoying it. From what I understand, I never watched it.
It was a great series, man. It was. It a couple years, I think it was on in two seasons, maybe, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. The only other person I had that was in that I could have also picked, but I ultimately went with Rebecca Hall, was a smaller character. It's literally the guy at the end of the movie who he helps with, like, get him on stage at the end, like when he comes in, he says, "This is my last show that I'm putting on." Mm-hmm. He's a guy that used to be on Frasier. He was the food critic on Frasier. Edward Hibbert. This guy. Edward Hibbert. He plays I don't know, he literally is just like at the end of the film, I feel like. But he's most known from the comedy Ackerman is who he plays. But he plays this guy on Frasier, the sitcom, and that's what I mostly know him from. But he's literally just at the end of this film, and he's not really known for films or anything like that, as far as I know. So it's funny to see him at the end of this. So I was like, oh, look, it's Gil. Gil Frasier, Gil Chesterton. That's who he plays on Frasier. I just seen it as IMDb because I had to look it up, because the other day me and Christine were getting driven crazy, couldn't remember his name on Frasier. I was like, hey, it's the guy from Frasier. I was like, yeah, Gil, that's his name. It's like a food critic that works on the radio with him. He's like another rich snob guy on the show. So he kind of shows up as a rich snob at the end of this movie too. He's the guy that has to get him the new show opening. Like, he goes and forces that old dude to open up the stage for him again, because he told him, I won't work with that guy again, after he like crushed the audience member's hand with that cage trick that he did, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, he's the guy that he shows the trick to when he shows back up in London, and he disappears, and he's like, well, where is he? He's like, what kind of trick?
Nobody cares about that. Yeah.
Right. And he goes to turn around, and Hugh Jackman's already like behind him, and he's like, oh my God. He's like, this is amazing. Little does he know, this guy's fucking killing himself underneath the stage. I know you are. It's these stanky cheeses, man. That's how much they're very expensive. Grumpy Gorgonzola.
Yeah, that's fucking Grumpy Gorgon.
Ricky J. Okay.
I just, you know what? I like I said, I couldn't figure out who it was. Like, I knew that little fat face. I think he was also, if I'm not mistaken, one of the porn guys in fucking Boogie Nights, bro.
Right. Probably. Probably.
Right. I think he's Long John something or whatever. Fuck.
Right. All right. What do we got next here? Clutch Performance.
How would I know that?
Long John something or other. Who just answered? I just did. Oh, this is you. Well, take it away, my friend. I think we're probably gonna have the same one on this one, quite possibly. So go ahead, Jay. I'll give you the first.
Well, bro, I think I gave it away basically by saying the way he pulls off the dying scene at the end, and just that whole hey, and just how he pulled the whole thing off. I think Hugh Jackman is that dying scene was a clutch for me, man. It stole everything at the end.
Favorite performance, and
I'm gonna give him my clutch, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I give it to somebody else. I don't know.
Well, it's okay, but I you know what killed it? It was that scene at the end where the whole scene, that whole sequence at the end where I thought it was clutch for me, man.
You know what's so great about that last scene? I'll also add to that, Jay, that I haven't mentioned yet. I've seen this movie a few times, and even when I was done at the end of the film, even I forgot there's that extra late, because I already kind of knew all that stuff because I've seen the film before. But then, like, when it got to that part, I was like, oh yeah, this is where they reveal everything. Right? Like, I took it for granted that I already kind of knew some of that stuff, but I wasn't like actively thinking about it while watching the film because I already had known it. So it surprised, it got me again. That's what I'm trying to say. Like that scene at the end, it got to the end because you think the movie's over, right? He gets hung. That's it, right? Like this guy, he's gone. He disappears. Yeah. Like most movies would have been done then. And then there's that scene like right at the end where like they just unload. Like you said, like you think you're the movie's done, and then they unload like this 10-minute explanation.
Yeah, and that's what giving me the chills when I'm thinking about it. Just because the way they he held them there and they're talking about it and he's explaining it to him. And
if that's your justification, I mean.
But I mean, bro, I mean his whole performance through the whole show is clutch, bro. I feel like it was hard for me to pick scenes that I didn't think he was good in, or a performance in a scene that I didn't think he was good in.
Would you say that you would that scene though also, because we got to give a shout out to Bale for that last scene as well, because he's also obviously part of that, playing the twin. Would that be his best scene in the film though, you think, Christian Bale at the end when he reveals all that? Or would you think that it wasn't that?
Well,
speaking on Bale right now,
Christian Bale had some good scenes too as well. He had some
would you say that's his best scene, or would it be like the one in the prison? Probably the prison scenes, right? I would think maybe. I don't know. It's hard to say. He was also
in the beginning too, when he was shocked when he's trying to break the fucking, how they're showing how he's trying to break it, and he's in there before you even see it again at the end.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like his whole, just the way he's got great scenes in the movie. I just don't know which one are clutch for me. Like which one would steal the show for me in that sense. Like I get where he went at the end, but he's just so. I was those expressions on his face that Jackman could pull off. You know what I mean?
Ultimately, I didn't go with. I mean, I picked somebody different. I didn't go with him though. I went with Michael Caine.
Michael Caine's always a performer, right?
That's what. No, but Michael Caine for me was like every scene Michael Caine was in, I think was a very important scene. So for me, that he was clutch in this.
Yeah, because he was basically fucking giving it away to you guys, like to us, and telling you like, hey, listen, this is what's gonna happen here. You're not believing me. Hello, I'm just the old guy in the room.
Yeah, we didn't know that had any impact on the story at that time, right? No. We didn't know. He was trying to tell him, like, trying to tell that character, this is how he's doing the trick. We didn't know that it was going to do it with 180 and put us on our ass at the end of the film. And you're like, oh, Michael Caine was right this whole time. You know what I mean?
I didn't believe him when he was saying, listen, guys, he's the only way he could do it is with a double. I didn't believe him. I thought they just threw him in there to fuck with me.
Yeah.
But yet he was right.
I wonder if anybody, and you know what's really sucks is when this happens, and I would hope this wouldn't happen, but I hope that nobody, and there's always people like this. I'm sure there's got to be somebody out there. I just hope nobody saw this and figured it out for themselves somehow while watching it, because if you go back and rewatch, you do kind of see like the clear, like them trying to like shift scenes or have him scurry away every moment. But you know what I mean? Like that guy, the Fallon guy, and you're kind of like, okay, clearly this does look like Christian Bale. Like, so why?
I was wondering, I'm like, it's hard. They really got him fucking disguised good. I'm thinking in my head.
but I just feel like it's so well overshadowed those things in the first time you watch the film, right? That's what I honestly, I just know there's people like that sometimes watch it, and if you figure something like that in a film like this, it ruins it for you. You know what I mean? Like the whole experience is tainted. I really hope that never happens to somebody in that sense. Like I
wonder if a real magician,
I don't know,
would actually like this film in that sense.
Right. Like, is it stupid to them, or are they? Yeah, I don't know. I just think it speaks like, again, we've gone over it right now at this point, but like I just think no, but it's true, Jay.
Yeah.
Like it's just there's so much you can get out of this film beyond that reveal.
Yeah.
So much so that I forgot about all the reveals at the end of the film. Like there's some I forgot about. There's stuff that I had thought differently of this time because I had to think differently of it because we had to sit here and talk about it like we did, right? Like there's just so much there. There's so much to work with. I feel like from such a premise that seems so simple, right?
Yeah,
But
I think it's true.
It works volumes. Like you said, like the whole aspect of the us, the viewers, are the participants in this illusion. You know what I mean? Like that whole thing, it turns your whole head around, man.
That's what fucked with me. Yeah, because that's still what's fucking with me. I want to like, how the fuck did I get fooled during this thing?
Right.
And usually it's a movie. You don't get fooled during a movie. You know what's gonna happen, right?
Yeah.
But then you get fooled, and then you're like, how the fuck did they fool me? Where did they fool me? What did I do wrong? And I didn't want to look at reviews because if I looked at reviews, it was just gonna fucking tell me right away.
I think
and they're not always the greatest at explaining it.
No, I think it's because of Jackman's performance. Because that's like the only through line of story that you can kind of follow throughout the whole film. And I think you're so focused. Like you said, Jay messaged me, guys, before we record this, or even I think before we started recording
2
today.
days, I think.
He's like, who's the main character in this film? Even he's like, first you think it's Jackman, then it switches to Bale, and then like I'm like, it's both of them. I'm like, it really is. Like,
yeah, and I was like, where did it fucking twist on me? I couldn't figure it out. They did it so smooth and transitional.
Right. Before your very eyes. That's what I mean.
Before your very eyes, yeah.
That's the whole point of the film. It's so seamless. Like it's amazing. Like it's so well put together, man. Yeah, yeah. We can go on and on, but yeah, okay. I gave it to Michael Caine though. Like I said, I think he's just brilliant in this movie. I think he has some of the best lines in the film, and I think every scene he's in, he does a great job. And Michael Caine's always does a good job.
No, he fooled me. I like him in this, and he fooled me, man, because I didn't want to believe the old guy.
Yeah,
that's my nitpick. Yeah, I didn't want to believe the old guy, and I got fooled.
I don't really have any. Oh yeah, hold on. The only nitpick I had was like some of the disguises these guys were tricking each other with were like kind of ridiculous. So I was like, come on, like all it is them just with longer facial hair. when they were coming up out of the crowd and they're like fooling each other, like the first was Christian Bale. Like, how does this guy not notice this guy coming from a mile away? It's literally just Christian Bale with like a longer, like a goatee or something.
Yeah.
And he's got his hands on the cage and he's like, oh no. Like, and every time it's just like they're too far into the trick to go back. Like, they can't even turn back, right? Like, they can't even be like, because if they do, then the whole thing's revealed. Like, you know what I mean? They can't be like, oh yeah, never mind. Like, go sit back down, sir. Like, no, I don't want you to do this trick. Get out of here. Right? It's almost like they got to commit. Like, once they even reveal to each other that, like, I'm gonna shoot you now, he feels like, oh man.
He's like, yeah, fuck, yeah. And then he's got no other choice. He realizes because he's looking at him right in the eyes.
Right. Like,
and at this point, he's like, I don't want to give this up.
If he stops the trick, then he's a fake, right? Yeah. That's what I mean. Like, yeah, it's. So I understand.
So as things shoots him, it's just like, oh well, at least he shot me, and it went off. He did it, not me, right?
Right.
So,
well, yeah, right. Because if he stopped that from happening, then people would be like, "Hey, what gives? You're fake or whatever," right? And then his whole career would be over anyways. But instead, he had to take, the 2 fingers out as a result, which also really sucks, right? So, anyways, yeah. So that was my only nitpick because at times I was like, these disguises aren't very great for their time, I guess. Hasn't aged well. There you go. There's another category. All right, how about you, Jay? What'd you think? Any nitpicks?
They just threw the dead birds in the garbage. No garbage, no garbage bag, no nothing. It's got to rot out in there. Fuck, man.
In the cage too. They just throw the whole cage out.
They squished the bird. I didn't realize that. I thought the trick was actually real, and they disappeared. But no, I feel bad for that bird. That was my pick.
Yeah, you're right. You're not wrong. I also had wrote down after his wife died of drowning. I had written down, but I had looked since then and found out that they didn't exist at that time. I was like, what? Why is no one giving this woman CPR? And CPR wasn't invented till like the 60s. So
wow,
didn't have CPR.
I was like that. I didn't even think of that. Hey, I was like, maybe she just drowned.
Well, it's true because like as soon as she fell out of that thing, Hugh Jackman was just like patting her, and no one was coming to her. Right? It was just like, oh, she's not breathing. Stop breathing. Oh, she's dead. Like, like no one was trying to do anything. And then,
no resuscitations, no chest pumps, no nothing.
So I googled it, and it says that it was invented in the 60s. So I was like, okay, I'll give you the pass, guys, on that one. I'll give you the pass. Even though you didn't try any way to save your wife, it seems like after you fell out of that glass, which is also crazy. Like that glass, like you would have to clear enough glass. Like, what happens if you got pushed out of that thing by the water and you fall on top of the glass, bro? Like, cause like there was smashed glass that was still like around. Yeah, exactly. And she got kind of swooshed out. It seemed like after he smashed the glass, right? But I guess at that point you're not really even giving it a second thought, right? Like she can't breathe, so I mean it's like whatever. I gotta go for it, right? So yeah, that's my only nitpick that I had written down is those ones.
I didn't really have any nitpicks except then also that they fucking. When did they fucking fool me somewhere? When did they lose me? That's what pissed me off. I hate when movies trick you.
Yeah.
I knew I was going into watching a magic movie and like a movie about magic and stuff like that, but I didn't know it was there to trick me. Fuck. Right? I like to understand what I'm watching.
That's what happens.
When you got to watch it a couple times, you start to get frustrated.
Makes for a good conversation, though, right? I mean,
it does.
Right? What's aged the best, Jay?
What's aged the best? Magic? No, well, I don't even think magic's aged good anymore.
I put that in what's aged the worst.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
right? But I'm thinking
this version of tricks, because we know it all now. We have assholes who run around and reveal everything nowadays, right? Like that's the problem. This what they're showcasing in this movie hasn't aged well because it doesn't exist anymore. Like it's not a thing. Like and we've all been so disillusioned by things, and to the point where now everyone just likes to reveal
wants to know the truth.
how everything works, right? So like that it's definitely aged badly. Magic isn't even like this anymore. Let's be honest. Like I mean, like what I mean. So it's now all Chris Angel and everything else. Like it's kind of more a little bit advanced, let's say, than this. Like you can still see sleight of hand, and you can still see like they do them on these talent shows, these types of tricks and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, they still exist. It's just not as I would say popularized as it was at that time when they couldn't figure these things out. Now they can. If you have the internet, or you're that dick who made that show on Fox who revealed all the magician's secrets, and then he showed that he was a Mexican guy at the end, which I'd never heard of. Yeah, that was the worst. Did you watch that show?
I remember a show like that somewhere along the lines. Yeah.
It was a whole season, and at the end of it, he like revealed who he was. It was like some Mexican dude, I'll never forget, or Spanish, or whatever the hell he was. And he's like, it's me, blah 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 blah. And then I think that the community of magicians, they kicked him out. Like he got that was it. After
Blackwalled.
Yeah, he made money from the show, and I don't think he was ever allowed to perform again, like or something like that, because you revealed all the magician's secrets. This guy's like, I'm gonna show you how they're all done. Like that's literally the code of magicians. You don't reveal.
You don't reveal. Fuck all.
Bro, there's one code. You don't what kind of magician are you? Like you're just like, forget it. I'm done with these guys. So, anyways, what age for you the best? I think out of this though, for me, I just wrote down the source material. I think his story holds up. This novel and Jay Rose. There he is.
But yeah, you know what? I think what aged the best too. If you're looking at it this way now, I'll come at it at a different perspective. Or just right now, I was thinking about it, but because you said this wasn't a well-known film in that sense, I think this film has aged well in that
Yep.
sense because you could still watch it today and still be fucking fooled or intrigued by it. So maybe this film itself has aged. I don't know if you would say it was because of the director or it's because of the actual screenplay,
Yeah.
right, or the actual novel. What's made it age good? That storyline, right?
Yeah.
But I think if that's the case, yeah, maybe not magic itself, but still how we're fucking still pulled in and intrigued and tripped out by how it can fool us to this day. Still, I know it's camera. It's a lot easier to do sleight of eye and shit on camera when they're doing it on a movie, but
Yep.
you know what I mean. Still, for them to play it off and fuck with your head and write it out like whoever wrote it out, you know, did it to fuck with your head. Got you. It got me at least. I don't know how many other people it got, but it got me.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. That's what I wrote. I wrote down source material. So like
trickery
I meant like the the screenplay or the book or whatever. Yeah, it's aged very well. Yeah.
Yeah, trickery, I guess if you want to call it, is aged good. You know, because if you could trick somebody, it's always fucking fun, right?
So would you say do you have anything else for worst or just the magicians?
Just the magicians itself, because I mean, you're not gonna see, you don't see very many of them anymore, man. I mean, fuck, you can get home kits of magician kits now, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah, I had one when I was a kid. I tried my hand and stuff like that.
Yeah, but you see the ones nowadays, and they're even 10 times better, you know, like than the ones we had when we were kids. Like
I remember one I had was like it was like a plastic case, and you had to put like a quarter or something in it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then like I think you closed it, and if you like somehow like like moved it or tipped it or something like that, the quarter would fall into like another panel, and then you would open it and the quarter would be gone, and then you know what I mean. But it was all about like, even when I used to like when I had one when I was younger, like a magic kit, and tried to do that stuff, I wasn't good at it. I didn't want to pursue it or anything like that, but it's all repetition and practice. Like all the tricks were easy to find, to realize that they were badly done tricks. It's all about the person who's able to, like, it's all about the individual, right? Like, I mean, it's not really the trick that's impressive. It's how they're able to distract you, or how fast you are with your hand. You know what I mean? Like it's all dependent on you, right? Like it's not dependent. I feel like a lot of the times, especially with those crappy tricks they gave you in those kits, like it wasn't dependent on the tricks. Like the tricks itself were great, but it was like if you could get as good as you could at doing that trick, then you could actually maybe fool somebody, right? So,
yeah, it can impress somebody.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, there's not much. I don't even think there's any new tricks that have come out. We're still waiting for the disappearing trick like this.
Okay, so unanswerable questions. So we actually answered a lot of these throughout the course of our conversation. Let's see if I have any left here. Yeah, so the main one I wrote down was how far back were they actually tricking people with them being twins? Really, I don't know. I mean, if we're gonna believe that he just came up with that after he saw that Chinese guy, the magician, I don't know. Yeah, I wrote down, was Professor talking about his twin when he warns the drunk double? Yep, we talked about that. Okay, here's the only one I think that we didn't answer that I mentioned to you, I think, but we didn't really get into. I think I know the answer to this, no, based on our conversation. Who was the bad guy in this film in the end? If you had to say, were they both bad guys? Jackman the bad guy? I think ultimately, I think Jackman is the bad guy.
More evil in the sense.
Yes, I think he's definitely. I think we both admitted as such in our conversation that he's worse at the end. Like Bale did bad things, but I think.
Bale still lied to everybody like a magician.
Yeah, but they were more justified. I feel like. I think Jackman's journey, based off of something that was supposedly an accident. Now, there's the other unanswerable question. Was it an accident? Did he mean to do that with the rope? I don't think so. We're not meant to see as viewers that otherwise. We're not meant to think that that was the case, right? I don't think. But, you know, it was unfortunate what happened with his wife, how he killed her, I think. But I genuinely think it was an accident. And if we're going to go based off of that, other than their little kind of like, you know what I mean? Like their little back and forth being enemies as magicians type thing goes, I think Jackman's the bad guy at the end of this film, especially with that last scene. Especially,
well, I mean, if you're Bale too, you're instigating it a lot too, right? Because you're still fucking with him when you're going to his shows and messing around and going up there on stage. Yeah, so I mean, you're still being a part of the I mean, holiness or whatever you want to call it.
If anything, the guy who plays Fallon, that twin, he's the only person that's not a bad person, I feel, out of this. Because I think every time that I think it was all Bale that really struck back at him. Or sorry, Alfred, like his character, the actual magician, I think he was the bad one out of the two. If you're gonna say that someone else is bad,
the brothers, twins,
yeah, it was him. Because he even said that the only reason I say that, even though they were kind of playing interchangeable parts at times, is because what he says to him at the end there, how he's like, "You were right. I shouldn't have kept pushing. Like I shouldn't have gone after his secrets. Like that was his decision, clearly, right?"
He was yeah, but they both back and forth. They were both instigating. But you're right. I think Jackman, out of all of them,
steals his kid, bro. Like I mean, like for me, like that's,
and then it rubs it in too, like in a sense, really.
That's what I mean. He says, "I won." Like he's satisfied with himself at the end, and Bale is so far
after all those dead bodies too and shit.
Yeah, Bale is so far like not even thinking about that at that point. Like, and to be fair, whether it was him or his Fallon, whatever. No, it had to be him because he got arrested. Okay, so then it was Alfred. He tried to save him. He tried to save him at the end there, like in the water.
Thinking it was him. Yeah.
It's got to be Jackman. I think Jackman's way worse than. Yeah, Jackman's way worse, I think. Yeah. They're both not great.
But bro, I mean, he killed how many doubles did you see there? Like how many did they were in the tanks?
There's like 15 there or something at the end. There's more than 10 for sure. Like there's probably about 10 lined up on one side when he's walking through at the end there, right? Like so it's pretty bad.
It's fucked up, man. Yeah, that's a fucked up pat. That's to take your passion for the art that far.
You don't really appreciate it until the very end. Like you don't like. I can't imagine seeing this, and it would have done the same thing to me. I told you, except I would have been
Imagine if you were the guy that plays Michael Caine,
and finding out that that guy did all that. Yeah, I would feel disgusted too. That's why I understand. That was the other question.
He's a true serial killer.
Well, here's the thing that Christine posed to me when we were watching the film the other day, because I asked her and she had a different understanding or thought on it. Did Michael Caine know that he passed him in the night? I think so. Because he met him at the house after when he had his daughter, right? So he knew that was him. Michael Caine figured it all out, bro. At the end, he figured it all out. That's why
he just wanted to wait until somebody came to him and said that that's what's going on.
But he had to figure it out for himself. Remember, he showed up at his house after he gets back from the prison, and he was like, "Oh, you have a guest for you here, sir." And he's already waiting in his in his house, and he that's why he's like, "What are you doing with that guy's daughter?" Like he's like, "I know that girl." He's like, "Where do I know her from?" Like, and he starts. But he figured it out that he was alive, though, because of something that the buyer said to him. Remember, he was
but he couldn't figure. At first, he couldn't figure it out because he was going to himself. He was going, I seen you dead. I seen you on a slab there in the fucking.
How is this possible? Yeah. And then he put two and two together, and
then he wanted to leave him the thing for the Tesla thing. Remember, he did also. Jackman wanted to leave it, said it belongs in there.
But you know what I'm saying? Like at that scene when they cross paths at the very end, when he goes in, Fallon, and he shoots him, they pass each other. Like Michael Caine's on his way out. This is when he's like, he's disgusted. He's like, I'm done with this guy. He walks out into the night. Says we're done. He walks out, and then Fallon is coming towards him, and they pass each other.
Yeah.
And like it seems like he looks at him, like there's an exchange of some sort. He must have known that was him at that point, right? Because directly after he shoots him and he leaves that place after it goes up in flames, he comes to Michael Caine's house and he has his daughter. Remember? And then he goes there. So at that point, he must have known what he knew the whole time, that there was a double. And then he took it upon himself to grab that girl from Hugh Jackman's house and you know what I mean, and set things right. He must have tipped him off that he was there. He must have tipped him off.
Might have. I mean, who knows?
He might have been like, I'm so done with this guy, that he tipped off Fallon to go there at the end, and that's when he ended up killing him, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying. It is hinted at the movie and confirmed it. I'm just trying to see if it has it, because you're right. I know what you're talking about, but there's some stuff that they do put on IMDb sometimes.
Yeah.
About spoilers, right? So you want to make sure you don't go that far down.
Yeah.
When you're looking through things. But I'm wondering if he does know at one point.
If I had to wager a guess, I would say yes.
Yeah. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You probably. I would doubt it. I have to check.
Only based off of the fact that Christian Bale, Fallon there shows up at his house at the end after he shoots them.
Yeah. Eh?
That's the only reason I think that there was some sort of a coordination. Or if he didn't sell him out, Fallon found it. He recognized what was going on when he crossed paths with him.
Okay.
And he kind of just let it, like he's just like, have at it. Yeah. He kind of just didn't get in his way. I think it's more. Yeah, I think it's more that, if anything.
Yeah, it could be. I didn't even think of that.
Because I think it's Michael Caine doing right by the situation at that point, and like being totally done with Hugh Jackman after finding out that the lengths that he went to. Because at that point he was already done with it. He said, he was done with the revenge as a young man. He was already kind of checked out of that whole situation. The only reason he helped him, and that's what he said, he's like, I don't need you to do anything for me. He already had his whole show underway when he showed back up. He's like, this is my last engagement. I just need you to put me in contact and get this show off the road, like off the ground. That's it. I guess that's why when he was so disgusted and he confronts him at the end there, he says that. He's like, how could you? He's like, I didn't want you to get involved. He's like, that's why. He's like, I don't want you involved. Like, he's like, I tried to keep you out of this.
Yeah.
Like he did try, but like, ultimately Michael Caine's obviously the smartest one out of all of them. He figured it all out for himself at the end. Like that's right.
And you know why? Because he's probably been and he's been doing it for years. Like he said, exactly. he didn't let himself believe it in the beginning when he said straight up, he's like, got a double.
Yeah.
So he basically went in it with that mind frame. And that's the mind frame we should have went into it with.
Exactly. And he knew how far magicians greed and obsession could go. Exactly. So I think I'm gonna say he knew, but that is a good one right there. That's another one that I couldn't really figure out, right? I mean, so many questions, honestly, at the end of this still, even though they explain everything, you're just left with like, well, how about this then? And now that we know this, well, how about that? Right. Yeah. And you can it's just,
that's what I have. I'm looking at, I'm going, how did he get into the house? Well, we already figured that part out.
Yeah.
Near the end of the movie, you figured that part out, so that one's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The one I didn't get, there was no answer to it really, is when Tesla had all those bulbs there. Did you notice with
on
no
the ground?
Wires?
Yeah.
No wires. And if that was true from 18, whatever that was, then that's pretty fucking advanced.
He said that they were generating electricity without a generator nearby. It was 15 feet away from where they were.
And that was a big thing back then, a wireless one.
Yes.
Right? So it is a trip, man.
He had a field full of bulbs being illuminated without an electricity source nearby. Yes.
Yeah, and I still can't, to this day, I was trying to look it up about it, and I still can't figure if that was a real thing or something that they were trying back then, because I know they were trying a lot with electricity back then.
He was trying a lot. Yeah, absolutely.
He was a real scientist and a doctor and everything, right? So,
he says, trial and error. You don't know when things are going to happen. You know what I mean? You don't know how things are going to play out. They're never the same.
Yeah, that's what about science is science is so unpredictable, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's lots of questions, man. All
Yeah.
right, Jay. Career peak.
I hate this fucking one. I really do.
Know.
I hate this one with my passion.
Want me to say mine?
You can go first. I think I might have the same one, but
I also put Michael Caine for this. The reason why.
Okay. I didn't.
This and Batman Begins, which just happened right before this, was basically the start of Michael Caine working with Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
He's been in like several of Christopher Nolan's films now. I think he's wonderful in all of them. He's been and he's done things after this that were good, but a lot of the ones that he did after this period of time were things that I thought were good, were things for Christopher Nolan. So I'm going to say peak performance wise, like for Michael Caine, after obviously being older at this point in time, and having a really great career filled with lots of great performances. I got to put this as the peak for me, because it's this film was the start of the Christopher Nolan, and the other thing is being one of the basically the, if not the best Alfred for me in Batman Begins. Both Christopher Nolan films both happened within a year's time of each other. Or 2
You've
years
done
time.
quite a bit after this too, eh? You did quite a bit.
But a lot of the great things that I have seen that I can speak to are things with Christopher Nolan. So, I mean, I'm going to go with it. This is peak for me, for Michael Caine, for me, Alfred, and this movie. Like I was like, and working with Christopher Nolan. Like it's not going to get better than that for me with this actor.
Oh, see, yeah, you're right. I'm almost thinking you're right, because if you're looking at it in that perspective, everybody's gone off. Well, I mean, they've all gone.
You know how much I love Batman, different things. So I have to give it to him. I have to. Like, Christian Bale, Hugh Jackman, and there's been many wonderful things. I mean, and again, it's not always to say that there isn't good things that they've done. This is just, for me, with this person, this is my peak for him. Like, it was not going to get any better for Michael Caine. Like, if he did nothing again after this, I would be happy. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, wow, he had quite the career, right? I've seen lots of things with Michael Caine. I remember one of the first, the earliest things that I've seen of his probably is he was in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels with him and Steve Martin back in the day. Man, I remember that. That's an older movie with Steve Martin and him. It's great, bro. He's great in that movie.
He is.
Yeah. I've seen lots of things with him, but that's another one that I remember fondly. Because I like Steve Martin. That's a good movie.
He's got a lot. Yeah, he did do quite a few after this too, man. And I know he's the older guy. He probably doesn't have the biggest parts and stuff in some of the roles, but maybe that's why you could say peak, even though he's in a lot of stuff after that, right? He doesn't have the biggest parts in a lot of things.
Yeah.
He's always that supporting actor that, never, I don't know how many of them after that he was anything crazy, but for peak performance, I don't know, bro. I hate this one with a passion. I was trying to go over it in my head, but everybody I'm looking at seems to have done something good and great after this. Like, you can't say one after or another. I don't like.
I mean, again,
I had a hard time. I went for the first 5. I went through the first 5 main characters, right?
Yeah, you're talking about Michael Caine. It looks like he's been working since the 50s. You know what I mean?
Yes, bro.
I'm fairly confident. I can say that 70 years into his career, this is a pretty good spot to place him. You know what I mean?
To say, yeah. Maybe I'll have to go with you on that one, bro. I tried to see if there was anybody different, but now that I look at it, I mean, he does. Like I said, he's got about 20 fucking films after this one, if not more.
Of course,
right? And you can't say.
I've seen a lot of them, not even just the Christopher Nolan ones. I mean, Children of Men, I've seen him in, and I've seen there's a couple other things I watched after this. I don't like Now You See Me. He's a friggin' magician in that one too, but I don't like those movies. But I just think they're overrated. They have it's one of those movies that have a bunch of great actors in it, but I feel doesn't live up to the hype. Woody Harrelson, your boys in that. I don't like those movies, but.
Maybe that'll be the next one we see, because there's part 3 coming up of that movie.
Of course,
right?
So, yeah, people love it. I think Rob was on here saying how much he loved it one day, and I'm just like, that movie's trash. I just think it's bad. It's I don't know. I just think it's one of those ones where they just throw a bunch of big names in it, and it's supposed to work well, and it doesn't. You know what I mean? Sometimes that's just the case. For me, I don't like that movie, but that's just.
Yeah, but that's your personal right.
It's like In theory, it sounds like a fun movie. It's basically Ocean's 11 meets like these magicians. It really is. Like it's like, hey, we're gonna pull this like heist on everybody or trick everybody, and we've been tricking you. It's a bad Prestige. Let's say that. It's the poor man's Prestige, essentially. They're like the whole film we've been tricking you, and you're just like, yeah, okay. It's not like
man.
this. You're like, oh my god. Anyways, so you're gonna go with Michael Caine?
I'm gonna stick with you. Yeah, I'll stick with you on that one because you know what you made. No, you made a good argument for it. Yeah, because I mean everybody else has had great films after. You can't say anything about Jackman or fucking. He did Les Miserables after this, for fuck's sake.
That's right. Yeah,
you know what I mean. So there's no fucking peak for him.
Yeah. This is peak.
I mean, Scarlett Johansson's done some fucking kinds of things after this, man. You know, like these are, if anything, it's their starts of some of their careers.
Some of them, yeah.
Right.
All right. But, so who won the movie then, Jay? Do you have an answer to this one?
Who won the movie for me?
Yeah,
my boy,
Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
All right.
I like Christian Bale, bro. I really do. I love that guy as an actor, but fuck, man. I think he was just out acted in this movie, man. The part was made for fucking a guy like.
No, I agree. I agree. He's the better of the two. All right. Well, I'm gonna. He
plays a good fucking Englishman too, man. Like a fuck, he does, bro. It doesn't matter. Like he's got the best accent out of both of them, too, in that sense, right? I feel. He won it for me. I mean, besides the guy whoever wrote this book, I gotta have to read this book or something because it seems fucking interesting.
Yeah, that's who I'm going with. I ultimately went with.
Did you read the book?
No. But so I'm giving it to the whole screenplay and
all three or four of them, yeah.
Exactly. I'm gonna give it to the team of Jonathan Nolan, Christopher Nolan, and Jonathan Nolan's Christopher Nolan's brother. And if you look at his credits, he's got a lot of great credits too, which I wasn't even aware of. So there you go. There's that. And who wrote the screenplay and adapted it from the book that Christopher Priest wrote. I'm gonna give it to that group of people. The people that wrote the original story and the screenplay. That's who I'm going to say who won for this one.
Yeah, I'll back you on that one, man.
The story is just so amazing. I think that you wouldn't have gotten this film. Yes, of course, Christopher Nolan, it would be, I could easily say that in terms of him directing the film, who won it. But since it's such an overlooked film in his career, I feel like compared to his other movies, I'm going to say ultimately he didn't win in that sense, but he won in the sense that him and his brother were smart enough to write the screenplay for this book and adapt it. So yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. So
nice.
Yeah, so there you go. That's those are all the main categories tonight on this show. Just clocking in just under 3 hours here. I figured this was going to be usually this is kind of where we're at, 2.5 hours or 3 hours for these episodes, but because we kind of go in depth, as you can tell. But as you can tell, there was a lot to discuss with this movie. So I'm glad, Jay. I'm going to ask you the question now. All right. Do you finally understand? You think everything in this film? Did we?
Yeah. But it's still gonna make me want to fucking see the certain parts again. I'm gonna skipping through different things.
Yeah, that's a good thing though, right? I mean, you clearly enjoyed it. I'm glad that you did. Because since this was my suggestion, and it's actually the first Christopher Nolan film we've done on the show before, so I'm glad you enjoyed it. I felt it was one that, like I said, I feel it gets overlooked, and which is why I wanted to do it over some of his other well-known films. So I'm glad you enjoyed it then.
I did. I really did, man. And I can't say anything bad about Christian Bale. Fucking anybody that played in that fucking movie, they did a great job. They played their parts well. Like I said, I'd watch another if they had something else like this. I'd probably check it out. Just the two of them. I forget how much stuff besides Wolverine that I like. I would probably like a few grand. Of Hugh Jackman.
Big difference.
Big difference, bro. Yeah, because they're kind of similar in this one in that fucking that accent thing. I kept calling him Grant in the fucking when I was writing it on my paper for a bit. Oh man, because he kind of has that look to him in this one in that sense, like that British fucking guy or English actor. Oh, kills me. Sorry, man.
Yeah. No, you're right, man. Yeah. So,
yeah. And like you said, I mean, it's probably better that I think that I was saying that Jackman won this part in this sense because Christian Bale had his Batman stuff going on anyways. He was winning his fucking role other places. But for him to pull off a movie like this, that's two different types of fucking acting too. So I'll give him credit for that. This is a different style of acting for him in that sense. And he pulled it off great. I mean, Scarlett Johansson just has to be there in the middle, like I said in the beginning. She'll do fine anywhere she is.
Yeah.
But
without the two main magician people being these great actors, the film wouldn't have worked. Like it wouldn't have felt one way or the other about these two guys going against one another. Like right? I mean, they made you care about. That's kind of the great part of the film is the fact that you go in, like you said, thinking that the main character that we're following is Hugh Jackman and that you should care about what happened to him. And then by the end of the film, it does a total 180. And all of a sudden you feel like he's evil, and that he made the wrong choices. And as a result of what he ultimately cared about at first, which was getting retribution for his wife. But then what really ended up happening is he lost his way. And like he said, like in that scene, he doesn't care about his wife. He cares about getting his secrets. He cares about learning, taking his show, like ruining him, like winning. You know what I mean? Like that's what he cared about by the end.
And that was probably the part where I lost it in it. You know what I mean? Where I was like, when did I stop liking this guy in the end? Like,
right. Yeah. It's. I mean,
I started liking Christian Bale near the end in a sense of the type of person he was, and Jackman started getting more he was getting obsessed.
Yeah, I mean,
it was a sick obsession.
Thank God for that ending scene though, where he gets shot, because it would have been so much worse, I think, if he walked away from that cell and he goes off with the dot. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like he just fades off into you know what I mean? Like he just all right, that's the end of because they could have ended it there. They could have ended it there, and he could have been like, yeah, I looks like I won. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and then he's alive. You know what I mean? Like it's like the reveal of Usual Suspects type deal. You know what I mean? Like something like that, where you figure it all out, but then it ends. This was you figure it all out. You think you figure it all out, and then he goes off, and then there's this whole other second act, where it goes a complete other direction, and you figure everything else out, and then that's it. Like he kills him, right? So that's what's great about this is like it has multiple endings. It seems like at the end there, like even when you think it's over, it's not over, right? Like, I can't say enough about it. Yeah, so that's all I gotta say on it. No other comments from me other than that. It holds up. Still a great film, and I'm glad that we rewatched it.
It is a great film, man, and I'd fucking do it again if I had to watch it. I'd rewatch it again. I'll recommend it to anybody now because I even was talking with my dad about fuck off.
Has he ever seen it?
Yeah, he's seen it. He remembers it, so it was a good movie for him too. He likes it, right? So. It's probably been a while since he's seen it, right? I mean, fuck. Right. But yeah, he was talking to me. I was talking with him about it, and I said, "Yeah, we were just trying to." I said, "It's a fucking crazy film, man." Right?
Yep.
So I told him. I even told him I watched it. I was at the second time watching it when I had told him.
Right.
Right. So, like I said, I just stopped watching the last ending again, right, just before we started the show today, man, because it was fucking with me. Right.
Right. So as we get to the end of our episode, as we normally do, guys, we usually set up the next pick for a film. I think it's Jay's turn now. I actually think I went back-to-back picks on the last one, so it's Jay's picks now for this one going into the next episode. So this was our episode for May. We've gone back on track this past month. So now Jay will be announcing the episode for June film. Did you pick one, Jay, ultimately, or would you go?
Have we watched? I can't, but we've watched so many. I tried going back. You just brought it up, but Usual Suspects. Did we watch that one yet?
No. So you've talked about doing that movie for a while, but we've yet to actually discuss it on the show. No, we've talked about it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
I was either that one. I was thinking that one, but I couldn't remember if we did that one or if we did a Reservoir Dogs one.
No,
both of those two you could pull apart. Like those two are both fucked up. I just watched Reservoir Dogs the other day, to be honest with you. And I forgot how fucking good it is with Michael Madsen and all that shit.
We'll do it, I'm sure, at some point. I mean, I'm as you know,
We'll either do that or Free Willy, right? I still can't believe he's went from one to the other, one extreme to the other, man. Oh, Michael Madsen, isn't it the same guy that they played the father in Free Willy, bro? Two different characters, bro.
Well, he's cutting off that guy's ear, dancing around. Yeah. Is he the guy in Free Willy?
I'm pretty sure, dude. I'm almost 100%. It's the father.
I just went along with you right there, but I'm like, is he? I don't know.
Wait,
I don't remember that one as my. Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah, see, see, he went from like fucking cutting the cop's ear off to fucking dead to saving his Willie.
Good observation. Yeah, so we'll have to talk. We'll have to leave that one on the back burner for sure, though. I'm down to talk about Reservoir Dogs another time. But
it's been a while since I've watched Usual Suspects.
I haven't seen Usual Suspects since I think I've probably only seen it once or twice, to be honest with you. Again, I think it's one of those movies where once the reveal is kind of made, it loses a little bit something for me.
You forget about it after a while.
Yeah, but again, I think it's more about the execution and how they do it. But I just referenced it, so clearly it still holds you know what I mean? Like in my mind, like I still think it's because I just referenced the ending in that movie about how the reveal in that at the end, you're like kind of turned around by it, and the first time you figure it out, right?
Yeah.
So
it's. You know what? It was either that or I was looking at anything with that. What's his name? Oscar Isaac in it. I was trying to. Right, because that's when you told me to watch, bro. I remember that one now because I did watch it before. Yeah, but that's not that old, right? So I figured, do you want to do that one? Would you do that one?
I would love to do Ex Machina. I mean, to be honest with you, I still want to do Usual Suspects. That I'd rather do Ex Machina, just because we've been talking about Oscar Isaac a lot lately, and it's not bad to do because we just did Good Time, which is only a few years old. Like I wouldn't mind. Let's do. Would you rather do Ex Machina or do you want to do?
Yeah, we can save Usual Suspects. We can save it because I was looking. I had them both because I was going.
Do Usual Suspects. I do want to do Usual Suspects, but let's talk about Ex Machina. Let's do that.
You know why? I started looking at his film role, right? Like while we were talking for Oscar Isaac, and I was trying to figure out what movie would be good, right? Because I haven't watched any of his movies except I think that one, man. Besides, your Star Wars crap that he's in, but.
I told you the other one that's good too is the one that he did with the Coen brothers, Inside Llewyn Davis. He's really good in that movie too. That's another really good one.
I was looking at that. That's 2013, right? That's got
also very good.
Mullen, John Goodman,
Garrett
Haldman. Yeah, I see. I'm looking at it right here. But yeah, I wanted to see something else by him because his performance in Moonlight's blown my way, right? And in Moon Knight.
Great after Moon Knight now. Yes, I know. But
it didn't make me realize until I went back and I watched the Ex Machina thing, and it's fucking I forgot, man, about that one. He was crazy. He kind of looks like my cousin in that one.
You have seen it before then. Okay, yeah. So we'll rewatch it. I'm down because I haven't seen it. I've seen it a couple times now, but the first time I seen it, that was what put me on to Oscar Isaac was that movie. So I'm good with that.
You forgot it was him, bro.
Yeah, because he wasn't a big actor at that time, really, right? And also he looks different. I mean, he looks a little different in a lot of things that he does, right? But that one he has the shaved head though, he looks like you.
But he's a fucking beast. He still looks. He's more built than he is in the Moon Knight. Yeah. And I'm thinking.
Yeah. Okay, let's do it. Okay, I'm down. So there you go, guys. So our June movie is going to be Ex Machina.
Don't worry, guys. We got Peter coming on one day for Inception. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be when Hell Freeze is over. He'll come on and talk about it. If you want him to come on and talk about Inception, he's gonna come out and just talk shit about it the whole time.
Well, we need a critic, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He made me watch a fucking war film.
Hey, we got lots of views on that one. I'll tell you right now, we got a few hundred views.
It's because everybody likes war, bro. It was that. I was also thinking because we just seen the preview for the new Top Gun, right? I was like, hey, let's watch the old one. Nico never watched that one, and it's like, no, you won't watch it on me.
I don't want to watch. I'm going. Never mind. I'm going to watch this new one. And
I want to watch the new one. Trust me, dude. I really do.
Everybody does. Yeah.
I think I want to watch it in the theater because when I seen that preview with you that day, man. Oh. That fucking blew my mind. You went to take a piss. I watched this fucking the sickest preview, man, on the fucking screen, man. What the hell?
I hate this film franchise.
I just, I think Tom Cruise is still good, man. Unfortunately, as an actor, I still think he might be a little crazy, but he's a great actor, man. And he always will be, bro. No matter what, nobody could say. You can't take it away from him, right?
As we reach 3 hours of this episode, we should wrap it up.
Yeah, right, man.
Because I don't agree.
All right, my next film will be some sort of Tom Cruise one. Don't worry when I get back to you.
Here's the thing. I will say this about Tom Cruise. I don't think he's great. I don't love him by any means. But is there there's several films I enjoy him in though. Okay, there you go. So there's lots of films I like he's in.
No, I mean that's what I'm saying too in that sense.
Yeah, there's lots of films I like that he's in. Absolutely, there's lots.
I think I'm watching this one tonight, bro.
Live, Die, Repeat.
No, this Inside Lou or whatever Davis. I think I'm watching this tonight. I just watched the trailer.
It's good. It's good. It's good. You might find a little, like some people sometimes have said that they found it a little pointless, but you got to understand kind of the point of the film to understand that it's not. It's just it's about a failed jazz musician. You gotta watch it.
Yeah, it says here's where the little one-line storyline says
folk music, not even jazz. Sorry, it's like folk music or something.
Village folk scene in 1961. Yes. Just a week in the life of a guy. That's all it is.
Wonderful. It's a great film. Directed great, Coen brothers. It's a great film. I hope you enjoy it because I really enjoy that movie. I remember watching that. That's probably, most people would argue, his best performance is that movie. Ex Machina is a cool movie, but most people would say that one's probably his best.
No. Moon Knight's his fucking best performance so far.
Yeah, absolutely. So, all right, guys. Being said, another great episode. Great talk, JT. Thank you.
Thank you, bro. This is a weird one. I guess we fucking went through like the whole movie, dude. That was the first time we
had to explain everything just to get back to the end, to the start. Right? That's the film. That's the film. It's
so fucked up, man. Yeah, it is.
We had to explain everything to get to the points that we wanted to make about the end. We had to go from the end to the start and back again, right? That's just how it goes, right? So,
yeah. And then my notes did the same thing here too. It's in the middle half of that. That's why I kept flipping pages. I'm like, okay, which one was the beginning part? Fuck. Yeah. Right. So,
all right, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks again
for tuning in. Thanks everybody.
June, Ex Machina. Check it out if you haven't before. That's what we'll be talking about. I think it's on Prime.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's Prime,
Yeah. Okay, there you go. All right, guys. Later.